Pokémon, the Shiny Pokémon Attractor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76. The battle between Wutong and Kadao does not need to be elaborated. Facing the karate genius that only appears once in 100 years in the Galar region, and the monster that can fight against the strange force head on, it is no surprise that Wutong, who is not from Pallet Town, lost. Fortunately, the loss was not very ugly, and the status of the senior brother was barely protected. And because of the addition of RC and Kadao, Hangian Island could no longer meet the training tasks of several people. Therefore, Zibber immediately decided to change the training place, and the way to change the training venue was also very humane, swimming directly to Qianhang City. Because the wild wilderness area there has various terrains and weather is very suitable for training. So, what am I doing for? Wutong said with tears streaming down his face, lying on Swampet's body, looking at Shiba, RC and Kadao who were swimming hard in front of him. After experiencing the humane travel, the few people successfully arrived at the land some distance away from the city of Qianhang. Looking at Shiba, RC and Kadao who were still full of energy, Wutong deeply felt that people's joys and sorrows were not connected. The following life seemed much simpler. Every day, after being beaten by Shiba, he was beaten by RC, and after being beaten by RC, he was beaten by Kadao. After the three of them were beaten, Wutong also prepared food for them to prevent them from not having enough strength in the next round. Wutong felt that, if he had not been determined, he might have awakened some strange attributes. And Wutong's Pokémon were also continuously educated by Shiba's Pokémon. After RC and Kadao joined, Wutong could watch Shiba wrestling with Onyx and Kadao fighting with Guili every day. Fortunately, RC didn't have a hobby of fighting with Pokémon, but when Zibber and Kadao were fighting with their own Pokémon, RC would come to guide Wutong. Because Zibber began to release Onyx, Wutong's Pokémon had a new boss to fight. But what surprised Wutong was that Zibber's Onyx was stronger than Flying Legs, Fast Punch and War Dance. He was obviously a fighting type king, but he could train such a strong Onyx. You said he was the king of Kanto? That's fine. This kind of day lasted for 2 weeks. RC and Kadao had to return to their respective regions. After all, one was a gym leader and the other was a prospective gym leader. P.S. After all, this is the real world. Time has to flow. Even if Xiaozhi doesn't age, it should be a few years before he goes to the Galar region. So Kadao is set as a prospective gym leader who is still in training. Zibber also felt that Wutong had trained enough, and the league also had tasks for him to complete, so he was ready to end this special training. Before leaving, Kadao, who was completely conquered by Wutong's cooking skills, expressed her reluctance to leave her cheap senior brother. In order to express friendship, Kadao took out an extra long green onion, which was said to be found by chance when she was out training. She felt that this green onion would work better in Wutong's hands. Wutong looked at the extra long green onion with the fragrance of green onion and fell into deep thought. According to Kadao, this is the green onion that symbolizes friendship. Wutong thought for a while and simply put the extra long green onion to the dream demon and stored it in the shadow first. Although I don't know what the principle is, things placed in the shadow can be preserved for a long time. Is it that the shadow is equivalent to a refrigerator freezer? Originally, after Shiba trained Wutong, he should let Xiaozhi take over, but Xiaozhi suddenly had a task in the Pokémon League. So Wutong will soon regain his freedom, but before that he needs to have a final battle with Shiba. Uncle Shiba, do you have to come? Wutong sighed helplessly. Stop talking nonsense, I'm in a hurry. Zibber rubbed his shoulders and said. Wutong rushed up directly and tried various ways of attack, but they were all blocked by Zibber one by one. At this time, Zibber's communicator suddenly rang, and Zibber narrowed his eyes again and started to fight back directly. After easily subduing Wutong, Zibber showed a kind smile. I'll give you a ride. Zibber said. No need. Wutong said a little scared. You're welcome, I should do it. Zibber said as he exerted force on his arms, and all the muscles in his body bulged. Then, Wutong felt the feeling of flying. What a disgusting feeling. Wutong couldn't help shouting. On the outskirts of Qianhang City, Shinji was taking his Pokémon for daily training. While observing the training of his Pokémon, a black shadow fell from the sky. It landed in front of him with a thud. "My dear friend, what a wonderful encounter," Wutong said after struggling to get up. Chapter 77. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Shinji looked at Wutong, who made a grand appearance, and his eyes twitched. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Shinji quickly came to his senses, as if he remembered something, walked in front of Wutong, and grabbed Wutong's collar. "It's you." Shinji stared at Wutong and asked, "What are you talking about?" Wutong asked strangely, "Let me tell Aju that you recommended it, and then he forced me to go on a blind date with Axing." Shinji continued to stare at Wutong and said viciously, "Ahaha, what are you talking about? I don't understand at all." Wutong avoided Shinji's sight and looked away. "You guy. You looked away. It's because of you. Do you know how I've been these days?" Seeing Wutong's state, Shinji became more convinced. Isn't this a worry from a close friend? Shinji has such a bad personality. What if he can't find a girlfriend? "I'm thinking about your future." Wutong turned his head to the side under the pressure of Shinji and continued to speak stubbornly. "Asshole. Are you my mother? You're urging me to get married now." Shinji continued to roar, no longer as calm as he used to be. Shinji's Pokémon also stopped training and gathered together, which was a gathering to eat melons. Huh. Shinji looked at the Pokémon who were gathering to eat melons with sharp eyes. Seeing Shinji's eyes, Shinji's Pokémon all trembled, and then continued to train honestly. Okay, young man, don't be so angry." Wutong took advantage of Shinji's inattention to break free from his hands. He was a man who had fought with Ziba. How could a mere Shinji catch him? "Aju must have fought you seriously." Wutong changed the subject. "Humph." Shinji snorted coldly and did not answer, but Aju did fight seriously after knowing that Shinji was recommended by Wutong. Of course, he conducted a serious guidance battle. After all, if Aju, who specializes in poison, was completely serious, Shinji and his Pokémon would basically have no chance of coming out intact. "So, how is it? Was the blind date successful?" Wutong asked curiously. "I recommended the playboy to him," Shinji replied calmly. Wutong was also stunned after hearing this. Didn't Aju have no interest in Xiaomei? How did Shinji recommend Xiaomei to him again? Could it be that Shinji has an unexpected talent in sales? "What about you? How did you fall from the sky? Did you finally find that this planet is not suitable for you and planned to find a home but failed?" Shinji asked. I was thrown here when I was fighting with a perverted half-naked squinty-eyed strongman," Wutong said after moving his body, which was still slightly painful. "Your experience is still as strange as ever." After hearing what Wutong said, Shinji said with a complicated expression, "What kind of strange experience is this? I don't know where to start complaining." "So, are you preparing to get the badge of the Red Lotus Gym?" Xiaobo, the old man who loves to tell riddles, is still very strong. Wutong continued to ask. "No, I have already challenged the Red Lotus Gym, and now only the gym in Tokiwa City is left. But their strength is not enough. The owner of the Tokiwa Gym is called the strongest gym owner, and they must be made stronger," Shinji said without hiding anything. After hearing what Shinji said, Wutong looked at Shinji's Pokémon. Tortoise, Nidoking, Arcanine, Pidgeot, Gyarados, and Bulbasaur. They are all Pokémon with excellent racial values and characteristics. It is also in line with Shinji's philosophy to choose stronger Pokémon to train, believing in racial values and strength first. As a rookie trainer, it can be said that it is very excellent to be able to collect such a team. After all, it is basically impossible for a rookie trainer to formulate a tactical lineup from the beginning and to capture Pokémon completely according to the needs. Very good, but the nutrition looks average. It can only be said to be passing, Wutong said. On the other side, Shinji was very speechless. Do you think everyone is the same as you? You can make super high quality energy blocks by yourself. In fact, the nutrition of Shinji's Pokémon is already very good. After all, although Shinji is very strict in training, he has never been harsh in nutritional supplements. Come out, everyone, Wutong said as he released his Pokémon. Laga, Buban, Gal. Harrow. 6 Pokémon appeared after more than half a month of rigorous training, plus the nutritious food that Wutong tailored every day. Swampert and several other Pokémon have become much stronger. Looking at Wutong's 6 strong Pokémon, his own Pokémon seem to be really mediocre in comparison. But why are there more pink guys? And the appearance of a silver one among 5 pink ones makes people with obsessive compulsive disorder very uncomfortable. What happened to you in the past half month? Although your Pokémon was a little stronger than mine before, it was not that much different. Shinji asked in confusion. If you were beaten for more than half a month, you could be like this too. Wutong patted Shinji's shoulder with tears in his eyes and said. Wutong's Pokémon also nodded in agreement. They were all beaten. Although they didn't gain any powerful attacking ability in half a month, their ability to withstand attacks has definitely improved significantly. If we use the effort value, their physical effort value must have been maximumed out in the past half month. Are you really traveling? Shinji couldn't help asking. Oh, don't mention these sad things. Does that mean you are going to go to Viridian City while training? You are really my best friend. It seems that we are going to travel together again. Wutong said. Whatever you want, as long as you don't show the way. Shinji glanced at Wutong and said calmly. My best friend, you are still so shy. He patted Shinji's shoulder and gave him a thumbs up. After hearing Wutong's words, Shinji's temples were bulging with veins. Sure enough, it would be better to find a place to bury this guy. With Wutong's existence, Shinji's Pokémon training has obviously improved a lot. With Wutong's Pokémon as opponents, the effectiveness of Shinji's Pokémon's actual combat training has improved a lot. After all, the strength of wild Pokémon is really uneven, and it is difficult to find opponents of the same level. In addition, Wutong treated them equally, and the food of Shinji and his Pokémon was improved by who knows how many levels. And Wutong's Pokémon were also very moved. After being beaten for more than half a month, they finally met someone they could beat. They were almost tortured into autism, and the 1000-year-old Ghastly was also moved to tears. Kikuko's Jenga was too scary. During this period, it didn't dare to come out at all, and could only hide itself with all its strength. Fortunately, it didn't lie for 1000 years in vain. Kikuko's Jenga didn't find it. Ghastly felt that he was running out of energy after not appreciating his collection for more than half a month. So the two of them teamed up again, and began to train, while heading to the city, where the last gym was located, Viridian City. And Ghastly could appreciate it all night. As for the little otaku girl Mengyeo, she still hid in Wutong's shadow every day to sleep, but the onion smell in the shadow was a bit strong these 2 days. Rotom is calling that day. Wutong and Shinji were training their respective Pokémon. Rotom on the phone came out to show his presence. Hey, boss, how are you doing recently? Wutong answered the phone, and the face of the Beast Master Xiaoming appeared on the screen. Hey, Xiaoming, boss, of course I'm trying to make money. Wutong responded. It seems to be me. Where are you? I'm already in Tokiwa City. Xiaoming asked. We will be in Tokiwa City in the evening. Wutong replied. Then see you in Tokiwa City. Xiaoming said and hung up the phone. Chapter 78. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Why don't we go in together? Xiaoming said as he walked towards the door of the Tokiwa gym. Xiaoming walked to the door of the Tokiwa gym, and the two burly men guarding the door crossed their long-handled battle axes in front of Xiaoming. We are here to challenge the Tokiwa gym, Xiaoming said loudly. The burly men on both sides of the door looked at each other after hearing Xiaoming's words. The two burly men took back their long-handled battle axes, and then knocked the ground with the axe handles. The door of the Tokiwa gym shook and slowly rose. This is much more high-end than other gyms, Wutong said as he looked at the open door. Xiaoming walked in directly. Wutong and Shinji looked at each other, and then walked up together. However, the two strong men at the door blocked the door again. Only one person can challenge the gym at a time. Two strong men said at the same time. We are just watching the battle, and will not disturb the battle. Wutong tried to persuade the two. Rules are rules. Two strong men were unmoved. There is no other way. You two just wait for my good news. Xiaoming, who had already entered the door, said. After that, Xiaoming waved his hand and walked deeper. There is no other way. We can only wait outside. Wutong spread his hands and said. Originally, Wutong was not sure whether Mewtwo was working for Sakaki again. Now that the Tokiwa gym has added this rule, Mewtwo has been fooled by Sakaki. Wutong began to think about how to make Mewtwo recognize him without exposing himself to Sakaki. Shinji, I'm going to the bathroom, Wutong said and ran away. After finding a quiet corner with no one around, Wutong picked up the backpack pendant that Ghastly had turned into. Old ghost, come out and help. Wutong shook the pendant and said, hey, little ghost, why do I feel like you're treating me as a convenient tool? Ghastly said after turning back to his original form. This is business. Do you remember what happened with Xiaoxia? Wasn't there an unknown Pokémon that couldn't be rescued? I feel like it's in the Tokiwa gym now. Wutong said. What? Big brother, are you telling the truth? Xiaoxia suddenly appeared between Wutong and Ghastly and said. Of course it's true, but I always feel that something is wrong in the Tokiwa gym, so I hope Ghastly can go in and check it out first. After all, that little guy should know you. Wutong said. TSK, what a little ghost who can order people around. I see, I'll go in and take a look. Ghastly complained, but was ready to go in and take a look. Well, please. Wutong said. I'm counting on you too, Uncle Ghastly. Xiaoxia said. What? Uncle Ghastly? It's a name that makes me feel complicated after hearing it. Ghastly said with an exaggerated look. Ghastly disappeared in front of Wutong and Xiaoxia after saying that. I hope nothing unexpected happens. Wutong said a little worriedly. It will be fine, big brother. Charmander number 2. No, Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur will also be very happy. Xiaoxia wanted to say number 2, but immediately changed it. I hope so. Wutong summoned the glass ball that sealed the 3 little spirits and said to himself. The Tokiwa gym was dark as usual. Xiaoming didn't care and walked directly to the depths of the Tokiwa gym. After arriving at a wide venue, Xiaoming saw a person sitting on the high platform on the other side of the venue with his back to the light. There was a cat boss lying next to the figure. The light was clearly shining from this person, but this person was in darkness, and his appearance could not be seen clearly, and only his figure could be barely seen. However, this person just sat there, giving people a sense of oppression. Xiaoming couldn't help swallowing his saliva when looking at the figure of that person. Is this the oppression of the strongest gym leader? This is both trembling and exciting. I'm the gym leader of the Changpun gym, Sakaki. The person sitting on the high platform spoke. I'm Xiaoming, and I'm here to challenge the Changpun gym. Xiaoming replied. You are quite energetic. Okay, I will accept your challenge. Sakaki said. As soon as Banmu finished speaking, the venue lit up, and 2 strong men of the same style as the door stood in the middle of the edge of the venue. The number of Pokémon used is limited to 3, and there is no time limit. The game officially begins. One of the strong men shouted. Go. Stinging jellyfish. Xiaoming called out his Pokémon. Go, Raiden. Sakaki called out a Pokémon casually. Stinger, Water Wave. Xiaoming took the lead in launching the attack. Raiden, roll. Sakaki commanded. If Wutong were here, he would probably have started to complain about Sakaki's letting the water go. No, he was already letting the sea go. Raiden curled up into a ball and rushed over against the water wave of the jellyfish. Stinger, surf. Xiaoming continued to shout. The jellyfish waved its tentacles, and a wave of water appeared out of thin air and rolled towards Raiden. Raiden finally fell on the way to attack. Raiden can't fight, said the strong man who acted as the referee. Not bad, then you sit. Sakaki took back Raiden and released the next Pokémon. A strange power appeared on the field. Strange power. Come back, Stinger, it's up to you, Toucan. Xiaoming chose to exchange Pokémon. Gah! A toucan with a fierce look appeared. The following situation was the same as the first battle. In order to give Mewtwo a chance to appear, Sakaki released water like crazy, and the 4 oceans were not enough for him to release. At this time, Ghastly also sneaked into the Tokiwa gym. Seeing the battle on one side of the field, Ghastly did not stop and flew deeper. The wall had no effect on Ghastly. Ghastly went all the way to a place where Pokémon were stored, but it was more like imprisonment than storage. The Pokémon were all locked in cages at the deepest part of this place. A Pokémon covered with machine armor and plugged with many wires was locked in a glass chamber. It seems to be it. Although it is better than being in a petri dish, it is not much better. Ghastly looked at Mewtwo and said, "You are not a Pokémon here." A voice suddenly appeared in Ghastly's mind. Huh? Question mark? Are you awake? Ghastly replied in surprise. You seem surprised, but please leave here quickly, for the sake of not annoying me. Mewtwo continued. Don't you recognize me? Ghastly was even more surprised and asked uncertainly. I don't know you, but you do make me feel familiar. If I'm not angry yet, please leave quickly. Although the man didn't ask me to help him look after the house, I don't mind helping him clean up the intruders. Mewtwo said. Things are a bit troublesome. Goodbye, little guy. We should see each other again. Gas said and ran away immediately. After all, although the Pokémon in front of him was covered by mechanical armor, the aura it exuded made Ghastly feel scared. Gas understood that, if this Pokémon wanted to, he would probably not survive for more than 3 seconds. Feeling Ghastly's departure, Mewtwo did not react at all, even though Ghastly had a familiar aura on him. From beginning to end, Mewtwo did not even open his eyes. If it had not felt that Ghastly was approaching him intentionally, Mewtwo would not have reacted at all. Compared to these, Mewtwo was willing to think about the meaning of his existence. Just as Mewtwo continued to think, the ceiling above its head split to both sides, and the area where Mewtwo was located began to rise. Mewtwo knew that he had to fight again. Xiaoming frowned when he saw that he easily defeated Sakake's 2 Pokémon. This is different from what others say about the strongest gym leader. It's not even as strong as Nibiru. Very good, you are qualified to see my strongest power. Sakaki stood up and walked to the front. Xiaoming finally saw Sakake's appearance clearly at this time. Then let you see it. Sakaki snapped his fingers after saying that. The gate opened, and Mewtwo in mechanical armor slowly walked into the battlefield. The slaughter began. You said it doesn't remember you? Wutong frowned and asked. Yes, little ghost, it seems that something unexpected has happened. Ghastly said. How could this happen? Big brother, you must have a way, right? Xiaoai said sadly. Sure enough, you still have to see it with your own eyes. Let's go. This gym battle can't be done without watching it. Wutong said. Back at the gym door, Shinji was still waiting outside the door, but the 2 strong men guarding the door were nowhere to be found. You've been away for so long. Some diseases are better treated as soon as possible. Shinji glanced at Wutong, who came back and said, I'm fine. Wutong replied helplessly to Shinji's venomous tongue. Is it not over yet? Wutong asked. I don't know. But the 2 strange guys guarding the door suddenly went in. Shinji said. In that case, why don't we just go in directly? Wutong said. Wutong said and walked up to open the door manually. However, as soon as the door was opened, 2 strong men appeared behind the door. What do you want to do? One of the strong men said in a muffled voice. Well, no, I just saw that my friend had been in there for so long and didn't come out. I was afraid that something might happen to him, so I wanted to go in and take a look. Wutong immediately stepped back and said, your friend couldn't stand the blow of failure and fainted. Remember, you are not allowed to enter the Tokiwa gym casually. Another strong man said and handed Xiaoming to Wutong. This is really Wutong looked at Xiaoming, who had gotten away and didn't know what to say for a while. It can only be said that Mewtwo is worthy of being Mewtwo, and it is really cruel. Do you 2 want to continue the challenge? Remember, only one person can go in at a time. The strong man asked. Wutong and Shinji looked at each other. I'll go next. You treat this guy. It's so embarrassing that he fainted. Shinji said and walked in. Wutong wanted to say that he will faint soon, but because it was difficult to explain, Wutong simply didn't say anything. After Shinji went in, the 2 strong men acted as gatekeepers again. Wutong saw that there was no chance to sneak in and could only treat Xiaoming outside. Although it was called treatment, Wutong had no way to treat the fainting caused by the aftermath of Mewtwo's mental power. He could only let Xiaoming lie down more comfortably. Wutong rummaged through his backpack and took out a pillow that looked very soft, and then took out a thin white blanket. Putting Xiaoming's head on the pillow, Wutong covered Xiaoming with the thin white blanket. The sleeping atmosphere is also very important, so Wutong took out 2 scented candles and lit them on both sides of Xiaoming's head. These 2 scented candles are milky white because they have a milky scent. Sleeping outdoors and being blown by the wind can easily cause a stroke, so Wutong considerately covered Xiaoming's head with a thin white blanket. The white blanket is very breathable, so there is no need to worry about Xiaoming being deprived of oxygen. The 2 strong men who were guarding the door were sweating coldly as they watched Wutong's series of operations. What is the situation with this guy? Let's not talk about why he would bring these strange things on the trip. Your friend just fainted, not gone. You want to send him away directly, right? Question mark? Are you in a hurry to eat? The 2 gatekeepers who were hidden as Team Rocket began to consider whether to contact Miss Junsha in Tokiwa City. After all, what this guy did was too scary. After a while, a strong man seemed to receive a call and entered the Tokiwa gym. The other strong man did not follow him in this time, probably to prevent Wutong from sneaking in. Sure enough, not long after, Shinji was carried out. Wutong sighed as he watched Shinji, who also got away. He carefully took Shinji, put him on the ground, and then asked him to do something that he would never do normally. Rotom, come take a picture. Wutong called out to Rotom. Rotom's mobile phone floated out obediently and took a 360-degree photo of Shinji. Wutong also took 2 photos with Shinji in the middle. Then, in the shocked eyes of the 2 strong men guarding the door, he took out a pillow and a thin white blanket. After placing Shinji side by side next to Xiaoming, Wutong clapped his hands in satisfaction. The 2 strong men guarding the door had twitching eyes, and one of them even took out his mobile phone to call the police. Fortunately, the other strong man was too lazy to call the police immediately, otherwise he would have called the police to arrest himself. But what is the situation with this kid in front of him? Is he a Jenga in human skin? Then it's my turn. Please help me take care of my friends. Thank you. Wutong said and walked into the Tokiwa gym. Wutong walked forward and entered the battlefield of the Tokiwa gym. At this time, Sakaki had been waiting here for a long time. There are many people challenging today. I'm Sakaki from the Tokiwa gym. Sakaki introduced himself again. I'm Wutong from Tokiwa City. Wutong also replied. Then let's start. Go. Super strength. Sakaki did not hesitate and called out his Pokémon. Go. Swampert. Wutong thought about it and released Swampert. Next, it was Sakaki's release stage again. Wutong easily defeated Sakaki's 2 Pokémon. Then, let me show you my strongest power. Sakaki said and snapped his fingers, and Mewtwo appeared again. Is it here? Wutong muttered to himself. Chapter 79. The 2 of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Mewtwo, in a mechanical armor, appeared, and blue light appeared in the eyes of the helmet. Lager? Swampert felt that he was suddenly floating in the air, followed by a feeling of weightlessness, and Swampert was thrown directly onto the wall. This is really scary. Wutong couldn't help but said when he saw Swampert, who had lost consciousness. That's enough for the fun, little brother. You can't defeat it, even if you send out all your Pokémon. Sakaki sneered. I think what you said makes sense. I admit defeat. Wutong nodded in agreement and took back Swampert and said, it seems that you are not giving up, huh? Sakaki felt something was wrong when he was halfway through his words, and he admitted defeat directly. You don't follow the script. Mewtwo was also stunned after hearing Wutong's words, not because Wutong didn't follow the script, but because Wutong's voice made it feel very familiar. It was the kind of familiarity that touched the depths of the soul. It tried hard to recall who the person in front of it was. Interesting little guy. It seems that it has no desire to fight anymore, so let's end it today. Sakaki glanced at Mewtwo, who was stunned there, thinking that it was also speechless by Wutong. Please follow us. The 2 strong men came to Wutong and said, okay, I'll go out now. Wutong waved his hand and said. Mewtwo saw Wutong leaving and was about to stop him, but he felt a breath, and then Mewtwo calmed down and turned back to the gate. Following the 2 strong men to the outside of Tokiwa Gymnasium, Shinji and Xiaoming had already woken up. Yo, I lost too, but I didn't faint. Wutong said hello. Shinji walked over expressionlessly, grabbed the back collar of Wutong's clothes, and dragged him away. Hey, what's wrong? What happened? Are you jealous because I didn't faint? Wutong was dragged and didn't know what happened. Xiaotong, you covered the white cloth on both of us, right? Xiaoming said softly, but his eyes didn't look soft. After hearing Xiaoming's words, Wutong trembled. It's over. I forgot about this matter. In the laboratory of the Tokiwa gym, Mewtwo returned to its secret room, and the wires were once again inserted into the mechanical armor it was wearing. Hey, we meet again. You are called Mewtwo now, right? Ghastly appeared near Mewtwo again and said, you said you could tell me why I felt that human was familiar. I hope you don't lie to me. Mewtwo still said with his eyes closed. Hey, don't worry. With your ability, you should be able to easily tell whether I'm lying or not. Ghastly replied. In the Pokémon Center in Tokiwa City, Wutong, Shinji and Xiaoming sent their Pokémon to Miss Joy for recovery. In the lounge next to them, the three sat there with serious faces. So, did you two also encounter that unknown Pokémon? Wutong asked. Yes, that guy is really terrifying. I thought the Tokiwa gym was just hyped up, but I didn't expect that. Xiaoming thought of Mewtwo and a little kid covered his face. Now that I think about it, Sakaki, the owner of the Tokiwa gym, should have done it on purpose. The two Pokémon in front are probably not Sakaki's own Pokémon. Shinji also had a serious face. After all, Mewtwo's oppression is too strong. Then the question is, what should I do with the 8th badge? Wutong said. Go to another gym to get it? Xiaoming said with a complicated look. Shinji also frowned and didn't speak. After all, Mewtwo's crushing power is useless for him to train now. But it was really hard to leave in such a shame. Boom. A loud noise appeared along with the ground shaking. What happened? The sound came from the Tokiwa gym. The Tokiwa gym exploded. The others in the Pokémon Center were chattering. Wutong and the other two were also shocked after hearing what the passers-by said, but Wutong's shock was different from Shinji and Xiaoming. He now wanted to know what Ghastly said to Mewtwo. The three of them took back their Pokémon and hurried back to the Tokiwa gym. The gym, which was originally like a temple, has now become a ruin. The two strong men guarding the gate were still doing their duty, standing there in blame. Hey, uncle, what happened here? Wutong walked up and asked. The two strong men looked at each other and recognized Wutong as the devil who had just challenged the gym. The Tokiwa gym was attacked by an unknown enemy, and the gym owner went to chase the enemy personally. Strongman A said. The Tokiwa gym is temporarily closed. After the reconstruction of the Tokiwa gym is completed, there will be an acting gym owner to manage it. At that time, the Tokiwa gym will reopen. Strongman B said. So the current situation is, Xiaoming scratched his head and said in confusion. The current situation is that we can't challenge the Tokiwa gym. Shinji continued. Then uncle, when can the gym reopen? Wutong continued to ask. About a week later. Strongman A thought for a while and replied. That's right. After all, Boss Sakaki is often not in the gym. Now the gym must be open for less than a year. Strongman B was just halfway through his words when he was hit by Strongman A. Wutong was a little speechless and suddenly felt that Sakaki was actually quite hardworking. In that case, let's find a place to rest for a week. You probably don't want to go to other unknown gyms, right? Wutong asked. Of course, I won't give up so easily. Xiaoming said. It's just a week, just enough for my Pokémon to adjust its condition. Shinji said without hesitation. Okay, uncle, see you in a week. Wutong said, waving his hand and leaving. See you in a week, kid. Strongman B replied subconsciously. Why did you make an appointment with him? Strongman A said to Strongman B again. The three returned to the door of the Pokémon Center. I'm going home. I haven't been back for a long time. Where are you two going? Xiaoming asked. Shinji, do you have any place you want to go? Wutong asked. No. Shinji replied. If that's the case, just follow me. Wutong immediately made a decision. Shinji thought about it, and since he had no destination anyway, he might as well just follow Wutong. Then I'll go first. I haven't been home for a long time, and I miss it. Xiaoming said as he was about to leave. Wait a minute, Xiaoming, your home is near Cerulean City, right? Wutong asked. Yes, what's wrong? You don't want to go to my home, do you? Xiaoming replied strangely. Of course not. I'm going to Cerulean City too. Let's go together. Wutong said. Xiaoming, who was eager to go home, called out Toucan as soon as he left Viridian City. You two also have flying Pokémon, right? My Toucan can only carry 2 people at most. Xiaoming said. Come out, Pidgeot. Shinji responded with action. Pie. The beautifully colored Pidgeot appeared, and Shinji turned over and rode on Pidgeot's back. Wutong began to think, is it better to ride on Crowhead or Fossil Pterosaur? While training with Hibbert, Wutong asked Xiaobo to buy a flying skill learning machine. The flying skill is like a driver's license. You can fly people without this skill, but it is illegal and unstable. After learning to fly, you can fly people with confidence. After thinking for a while, Wutong still called out Crowhead. After all, the fossil pterosaur was a bit too ostentatious. Seeing Crowhead appear, Pidgeot came over immediately. Wutong then remembered that Pidgeot seemed to be chasing Crowhead. However, his Crowhead had some signs of late-stage straight male cancer, and he could always successfully drive Pidgeot away. Seeing Pidgeot coming over, Crowhead called out. After Pidgeot heard the call, his body paused, then turned his head angrily and flew directly. Crowhead, how can the first sentence you say to a girl be that you are fat again? Wutong said speechlessly. Crowhead tilted his head in confusion. He was indeed fat. Pidgeot, keep training hard. When you are much stronger than it, you don't have to care about its ideas. Just suppress it. Shinji said to Pidgeot. Pie. Pidgeot nodded in agreement. Hey, what strange things are you teaching your Pokémon? Xiaoming on the Toucan said speechlessly. Toucan was also a little scared and moved away from Pidgeot. Okay, let's go. The goal is Cerulean City. Wutong also climbed onto Crowhead's back and said. Crowhead flapped his wings and flew up directly. The 3 of them flew in the air on their respective Pokémons, and no one moved first. Why don't you leave? Wutong asked in confusion. I'm waiting for you. Xiaoming said in confusion. So, no one knows the way, right? Shinji found the problem. It's time for me to show up, Lotto. The mobile phone Rotom floated out of Wutong's pocket. What is this? Xiaoming asked in confusion when he saw the mobile phone Rotom for the first time. Please, Rotom, navigate to Hulan City. Remember it's the air route navigation. Wutong said. Leave it to me, Lotto, the mobile phone Rotom said, and released a projection screen. Hey, don't ignore me, Shinji. Do you know what that is? Xiaoming turned around and asked Shinji. However, Wutong and Shinji directly followed the instructions of the mobile phone Rotom and began to fly. Damn it. These 2 guys. Wait for me. Xiaoming saw the 2 flying away and hurriedly chased after them. The speed of flying is much faster than walking. After less than half a day, the 3 had arrived in Hulan City. Okay, I'm going home. Call me if you have anything. Xiaoming waved his hand and left. Well, I remember it seems to be in this direction. Wutong thought for a long time and walked towards the south. Are you sure it's okay? Shinji, who knew that Wutong was a road idiot, couldn't help asking. Don't worry, this is the only place I dare to guarantee that I won't get lost. Wutong said with a smile. After all, this is where everything started for him. As Wutong said, they didn't get lost this time. The 2 left Hulan City and walked on Route 5 for a while before coming to the door of a building that looked a bit old. This is it. Let's spend this week here, Wutong said as he pushed open the door. You are trespassing, right? Shinji said with a frown. Don't worry, this is our breeding house in the Kanto region, but because we took all the entrusted Pokémon with us when we left, this breeding house is temporarily closed, Wutong said and walked in. After hearing this, Shinji followed him in, but he felt more and more that Wutong might be a rich 2nd generation. Before Wutong set out on his journey, Aquan and Xingzi told Wutong that, if he had no place to live, he could live here. After all, it was his home. I really miss it. I thought it was a rented house before, but I didn't expect it to be my own home. Wutong took Shinji to the house. Because no one has taken care of it for many years, the house is covered with a layer of dust. Before that, it seems that we need to clean it up. Seeing the dusty house, Shinji frowned and said, That's right, everyone, come out. Wutong directly called out his Pokémon. Okay, start cleaning, tidy up before dinner, and I'll make a big meal. Wutong threw out the bait and said. After hearing Wutong's words, the Pokémon instantly became enthusiastic. Swampert directly spit out a wave of water and began to clean up the dust in a large area. Please help me, my dear friend. I'll go see if the kitchen can still be used. Wutong patted Shinji on the shoulder and said. Shinji looked at the mess in front of him, sighed rarely, called his Pokémon out, and joined the ranks of cleaning. When he came to the kitchen, Wutong did not start cleaning, but took out a Playboy. Of course, this Playboy was not Wutong's. This was left by Ghastly in the ruins of the Tokiwa gym. After seeing it, Wutong asked the Dream Demon to secretly take it back. He opened Playboy, and on the blank last page, there were several pictures, a rough sketch. Wutong carefully identified it, and the meaning was as follows. Ghastly met Mewtwo and talked to him. Mewtwo recovered his memory after hearing it and chose to leave the Tokiwa gym directly. Mewtwo felt that he hadn't seen Wutong, Xiaozhi and the three little ones for a long time, so he wanted to prepare gifts. Ghastly decided to act as Mewtwo's advisor, so he followed Mewtwo to prepare gifts. At the end was a big smiling face of Ghastly. So, what's going on? What's the point of preparing gifts? Wutong looked at the sketch and felt a headache. Mewtwo is now in the rebellious period of middle school. Could it be that the gift had caused a special funeral for itself? Wutong suddenly began to worry. Chapter 80. The sun was shining brightly, and the sun was shining brightly. On a sunny day, on Route 5 between Cerulean City and Golden City. A former breeding house is located here. In the yard behind the house, Wutong sat there massaging the fossil pterosaur, although it was a fossil Pokémon. But the body was still soft, so it was not difficult to massage. Crow leader, don't bully Pidgeot. Wutong looked at the Pokémons that were free nearby and shouted. Gap. Crow leader, who was pressed under Pidgeot and kept struggling, looked confused after hearing Wutong's shout. Crow leader, do you think I'm bullying it? Strange, why does this state feel so familiar? Wutong murmured while kneading the fossil pterosaur. Who? Try harder, didn't you eat? The fossil pterosaur felt that Wutong had a split and turned back and shouted. Who? You are very brave, Wutong said, and used the power of Changpan. Who? The fossil pterosaur instantly felt severe pain and the sourness after the pain. Nido? Your beloved dragon is suffering, don't you go to rescue it? Nidoking, who was waiting for a massage, shouted to the giant Swampert beside him. Larget, you think too much, it's because it's too comfortable. The giant Swampert on the side shouted nonchalantly. Nidoking looked back strangely and found that the fossil pterosaur that had just roared was now lying there softly, and there was no sign of stone hardness. Okay, next one. Do you two want to feel it too? It just so happens that today's condition is good. Wutong looked at Swampert and Nidoking and said. Nido, lag. Nidoking and Swampert shook their heads vigorously. They didn't want to become a puddle. Toto, there are still too many unnecessary movements when using the leaf blade. Go faster. Shinji looked at Toto and said. Oh. Buban. The Arcanine and Platypus standing in front of Toto used jet flames at the same time. Arcanine opened its mouth and shot out a column of fire. Platypus raised an arm like a cannon barrel and also shot out a column of fire. The two columns of fire swept across and burned all the leaf blades shot by Toto. Is it still too difficult to cut through the flames? Shinji frowned and said. On the other side, Heracross and Beedrill were fighting 2v2 with Bulbasaur and Gyarados. Heracross raised his hands and fired a missile needle. Seeing this, Beedrill also stabbed his needle-like arms and released a wave of missile needles. Seeing the overwhelming energy needles flying, Gyarados and Bulbasaur were both sad. Next time, I will never play 2v2 with these two guys again. It's too bullying. Hey, I'm here to eat. Xiaoming came to the backyard with a shout. You guys, just live here too, come early every day, and then go back after dinner. Wutong looked at Xiaoming and said speechlessly. 5 days have passed since the day of challenging the Tokiwa gym. Wutong, Shinji and their Pokémon moved in after cleaning the breeding house. Wutong's daily routine is to make breakfast, train in the morning, make lunch, take care of Pokémon in the afternoon, make dinner, train in the evening, make supper and then go to bed. Wait, Xiaoxia gang is actually me? Wutong fell into deep thought. And Shinji's daily routine is to get up for morning exercises, clean up the dishes, train in the morning, clean up the dishes, study tactics in the afternoon, clean up the dishes, train in the evening, clean up the dishes, and then go to bed. Apart from anything else, Shinji feels that his ability to wash dishes has improved significantly now. Wait, is it training Pokémon or training myself? Shinji also fell into deep thought. Hey, what's wrong with you two? Xiaoming looked puzzled. On the second day after returning home, Xiaoming, who was making training equipment for Wutong and Shinji's Pokémon, had some details that he wanted to ask the two of them. Remembering that Wutong said their destination was also Hulan City, it was estimated that it would not be far away. Xiaoming simply asked Wutong's address and came up himself. Then I found that this place was much better than my informal gym. Not only was the venue large enough, the equipment was complete, and there were excellent opponents. The most important thing was that the meals were provided, so Xiaoming simply came here every day to eat. Xiaoming also tried to fall into contemplation, but Xiaoming failed. So, how do we train today? A ring, or a melee? Wutong asked. Melee. Shinji said. Ring? Xiaoming chose another way. Melee can better train command and response capabilities, and the effect of the ring is obviously not as good as a melee. Shinji said. What you said makes sense, but the problem is that every melee will end up with two of you fighting me alone. Xiaoming roared. It's your illusion. Wutong touched his head and said. Anyway, I won't participate in a melee. Xiaoming refused very firmly. You are really troublesome. Then the two of us will start first. Shinji said and called his Pokémon back to his side. Toto, Nidoking, Gyarados, Pidgeot, Windy Dog, and Marion. 6 huge Pokémon stood behind Shinji with great momentum. What, are you trying to scare me? Come out. Xiaoming said unyieldingly when he saw what happened to Shinji and his Pokémon. After a roar, Sandslash, Tickon, Rhyton, Stinger, Beedrill, and Arbok all appeared behind Xiaoming. With the help of Wutong, Xiaoming's Rhyton completed the communication exchange and evolved into Rhyton. Compared to this, Xiaoming's Pokémon looks much weaker. Wutong said. Damn, you rich people. I will never lose. Xiaoming roared. Humph, you talk too much nonsense. Shinji snorted. You two fight first, I'm going to cook. Wutong saw the two people and started to say helplessly again. Wutong came to the kitchen and cooked while thinking about when Mewtwo would come to find him. 5 days have passed, but there is still no news from Mewtwo and Ghastly. Wutong was also a little panicked. Forget it, what is coming will come. Today I will change the taste of Swampert and make Poffin. Wutong said self-abandoned and took out a thick jar. On the other side, on the new island that has become a ruin, the gifts for Mewtwo and Ghastly are still being prepared. I just don't know whether this gift will become a surprise or a shock in the end. After 3 or 4 days of this daily routine, Wutong and the other two are ready to challenge the Tokiwa gym again. After locking the door of the breeding house, the 3 of them flew to Tokiwa City on their respective flying Pokémon. Arrived at the Tokiwa gym at this time, the Tokiwa gym has been rebuilt, and Wutong can't help but sigh at the speed of the construction team in this world. It was built so quickly. Xiaoming said in amazement. Indeed, I was worried that we were too early. Wutong nodded and said. Shinji was too lazy to talk nonsense and walked in directly. This time, the 2 strong men guarding the door did not show up, so the 3 of them walked in together. Entering the gym, it was still dark as usual. The 3 of them walked all the way and came to the previous battlefield according to their memory. After the 3 of them arrived at the battlefield, the lights suddenly lit up, and the entire battlefield was lit up. The 2 strong men who were originally guarding the door stood in front of the gate where Mewtwo appeared. Without waiting for the 3 of them to speak, the gate opened directly. A woman with short hair, all clothes and frameless glasses walked out. I'm Mantori, the acting gym leader of Tokiwa Gym. Are you here to challenge the gym? Mantori adjusted his glasses and said. Wutong was speechless. Why did they fight the secretary after beating the boss? Yes, we are here to challenge Tokiwa Gym. Wutong replied. We. In that case, who of you 3 will go first? Mana asked. Wutong and the other two looked at each other, and Wutong came out first this time. I was the last one last time, so I'll go first this time. He walked out and said, the battle rules of the Tokiwa are that each person chooses 3 Pokémon, and they can be exchanged at will. The side that loses all compatibility first loses. The 2 strong men walked to the middle of the battlefield and said, go, Nidoqueen. Mana was the first to call out the Pokémon. Nidoqueen. Go, Swampert. Wutong raised his eyebrows after seeing Nidoqueen, and chose Swampert to fight. It shouldn't be Sakaki's Nidoqueen, and even if it is, it shouldn't be the main force, otherwise there will be no fight. Wutong whispered to himself. I haven't seen a Pokémon before. Nidoqueen. Brute force. Mana commanded. Nido. A light red mist rose from Nidoqueen's body, and then he rushed towards Swampert. A contest of strength? Swampert. Hammer. Wutong shouted. Lager. Swampert's muscles bulged, and he swung his powerful and heavy fist to meet Nidoqueen. After a muffled sound, both Pokémon retreated. However, compared to Swampert's stability, Nidoqueen staggered a little. Swampert. Water wave. Wutong saw the right time to command Swampert to continue attacking. Lag. Swampert opened his mouth and a ring of water gushed out. Water wave hit Nidoqueen directly. Nidoqueen. Double return. Mana continued to command. After hearing Mana's command, Wutong raised his eyebrows. It turned out that she was a professional secretary, but her command ability was really not good. Is this what it means to have a specialty? Swampert. Don't worry about it. Continue water wave. Wutong commanded. Lag. Swampert increased its strength and continued to use water wave. Nidoqueen was attacked by the continuous water wave and lost her combat ability. This acting Jamona doesn't seem to be very good, but the Pokémon is well cultivated. Xiaoming said standing on the sidelines. It should be that the Jamona's Pokémon was temporarily borrowed by her, but unfortunately, she doesn't know how to command. No, she doesn't know how to fight. Shinji said coldly. Come back, Nidoqueen. Go, Raiden. Manaji obviously didn't hear the conversation between Xiaoming and Shinji, and exchanged Pokémon with a frown. Although this Nidoqueen is only the reserve Pokémon of Lord Sakaki, it doesn't make sense to be solved so easily. Raiden, turn round, roll. Manaji launched another attack. Raiden shrank directly into a ball, and then rolled and hit Swampert. Really, is there no novelty? Swampert, earthquake. Wutong said helplessly. Larger. Swampert clenched its claws together and hammered them hard on the ground. Raiden, who turned into a ball and rolled quickly, bounced up and actually avoided the earthquake. Coincidence? But now it has become a target, right? Swampert, rock collapse. Wutong commanded. Lag. Swampert yelled and threw a huge rock, hitting Raiden in midair. Raiden was smashed down directly. Raiden, hit with your life. Mantori decided to attack to the end and continued to command Raiden to attack. Rumble. Raiden adjusted his posture. White light appeared on his body and he hit Swampert with amazing momentum. Swampert hit. Wutong didn't care at all. Swampert was least afraid of a head-on attack. Lag. Swampert's muscles tightened and his limbs kicked the ground, shooting out like a cannonball. With a bang, the 2 Pokémon collided with each other. Raiden. Self-explode. Mantori said coldly. Swampert. Hold on. Wutong didn't expect the opponent to be so unethical and shouted hurriedly. A violent explosion occurred and the venue was instantly covered by smoke. This woman is so scary. Xiaoming swallowed his saliva and said. Shinji nodded seriously. This crazy fighting style is also very powerful in a sense. When the smoke dissipated, Raiden lay on the ground with circular eyes and lost its fighting ability. Next to Raiden, Swampert also lay on his back, his eyes spinning in circles, and white smoke still coming out of his mouth. Is this a failure to defend? Wutong said as he looked at Swampert, who had also lost his fighting ability. Wutong's luck is a bit bad. Xiaoming said standing aside. This may be evil will be punished with evil. Shinji said faintly. Indeed. Xiaoming was stunned after hearing what Shinji said, and then nodded in agreement. Hey, you two, please keep me out of my sight if you say bad things about me. Wutong shouted. Go, Diglett. Manbird directly called out the next Pokémon. Go, Crowhead. Wutong also directly called out the second Pokémon. Pink again. Do you like pink? It doesn't look like a boy at all. Zinio couldn't help but say when she saw Wutong's second Pokémon. Pink is the color of a tough guy. Okay. Crowhead. Tailwind. Wind up. Wutong shouted. Gap. The airflow wrapped around Crowhead, and then Crowhead's wings vibrated, and a storm swept towards the three rats. Three rats. Triple attack. Zinio commanded. However, facing the extremely fast Crowhead, the three rats' triple attack couldn't hit at all, and Zinio's command ability was very worrying, and the situation on the field was completely one-sided. Wutong, finish it quickly. This is not a battle at all. Xiaoming urged. Chapter 81. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Shinji, am I dreaming? Wutong seems to have been captured by Dragonite. Xiaoming said blankly, looking at the Dragonite that had become a smaller dot. I shouldn't be dreaming, because I saw it too. Shinji was a little at a loss at this time. Lager, Bubon, Swampert and Platypus were also confused. How could their trainer be captured directly? Crowhead shouted and chased after it. Pidgeot, stop it. Shinji said. Pie. Pidgeot shouted and pressed Crowhead under him skillfully. At this time, the crow leader had a serious face, and light came out of his body. He actually planned to use skills to rush it directly. Swampert and Platypus, let it calm down. It can't catch up now. If it gets lost, it will be more troublesome. Shinji said to Platypus. At this time, Swampert and Platypus also came to their senses. One of them saw through everything, and the other was sensible and steady. They knew that what Shinji said made sense, so they ran to the crow leader and began to comfort it. However, while they were comforting it, the other three were not at ease. They actually flew out directly when everyone was not prepared. Hera. How could I ignore my important breeder? No, important trainer being captured. Roar. The fossil pterosaur also roared. The trainer recognized by my mother must be rescued. Beedrill followed behind Heracross and the fossil pterosaur, obviously also wanting to catch Wutong back. Seeing the three Pokémon flying away, Swampert and Platypus were very upset. They wanted to chase them directly. Really, Toucan? Chase it. Xiaoming immediately released Toucan and let it chase it. My Toucan always likes to fly around, so I put a tracker on it. But it's okay for Wutong's fossil pterosaur to fly around. It will cause a sensation. Xiaoming said. There is no time to care about that now. We need to know where the Dragonite wants to catch Wutong as soon as possible. Shinji replied. The speed of the Dragonite is too fast, and we can only judge a general direction. Xiaoming frowned and said. There should be clues in this. We have to find a way to get that guy back. Shinji said, holding something like a hard drive in his hand. Well, where are you taking me? Wutong asked the Dragonite who was holding him. Dragonite called, but didn't say where to go. Wutong looked at the height at this time, and could only sigh. He couldn't just put a choker hold on Dragonite and let it fall freely, restarting his life. Even if the physical fitness of humans in the Pokémon world is strong, they will be crushed to pieces at this height. Since he can't resist, he will just enjoy it. Moreover, the emotions of Dragonite felt by Wutong's evergreen power are also full of friendliness, and he shouldn't hurt himself. Dragonite is soft, and it's warm and comfortable to be held, making people want to sleep. Woo. Dragonite heard a slight snoring in his arms, and looked down to find that Wutong had fallen asleep. On the new island, in a rebuilt castle with a strange shape, Mewtwo and Ghastly were waiting in the hall. After an unknown amount of time, a Dragonite carrying a backpack flew in. Seeing Dragonite flying in, Mewtwo and Ghastly greeted him. Hey, little ghost, long time no see. Ghastly floated over and greeted him. Snoring Ghastly responded with a snoring sound. This little ghost is too careless. Ghastly said troubled. Big brother, no, since Wutong is still sleeping, let him sleep first. Some invitations have been sent out, and we still have work to prepare. Mewtwo said. Dream. At this time, the Dream Demon floated out from Wutong's shadow, and shouted to Mewtwo and Ghastly vigilantly. Hey, little Dream Demon, don't worry, we won't hurt this kid. Ghastly said to comfort the Dream Demon. Mewtwo? Is this your name now? A voice that made Mewtwo feel very familiar came. Xiaoxia. Mewtwo said in surprise, and began to look for Xiaoxi's shadow, and then saw Xiaoxia in energy state with half of her body exposed in Wutong's shirt pocket. What's going on? Didn't you tell me that Xiaoxia has been resurrected? Mewtwo looked at Ghastly fiercely. Really, why are children nowadays so irritable? This is the path of your own choice. Ghastly was startled and said helplessly, yes, little Mewtwo, this makes me feel more comfortable. I asked my big brother myself. Xiaoxia floated in front of Mewtwo and turned around and said, is that so? Have you also chosen your own path? Mewtwo said softly, with a hint of confusion in its eyes. But, little Mewtwo, you have grown up. You were cuter when you were little. Xiaoxia turned around Mewtwo and said. But, cute. Although they communicated through mental power, Ghastly could also feel Mewtwo's distress. I really had a good sleep. Wutong stretched and stood up and said. Dream Mengyao came to Wutong and called out. Good morning, Mengyao. Why did you get up so early today? Wutong said. Big brother, look, it's little Mewtwo. It remembered us. Xiaoxia saw Wutong wake up and floated over and said. The dream demon looked at Xiaoxia vigilantly. Sure enough, this is the enemy. Little Mewtwo. After hearing Xiaoxia's voice, Wutong remembered why the Dragonite looked familiar. Isn't that the Dragonite that helped Mewtwo deliver the package? Long time no see, Wutong. Mewtwo's steady voice appeared in Wutong's mind. Hey, don't you call me big brother? Wutong said subconsciously. After saying that, Wutong regretted it and looked at Mewtwo with cold sweat. Mewtwo was also stunned. He didn't expect that the first sentence Wutong said when he saw it again would be this. Hey, Mewtwo, you should remember what happened before, right? I was worried when I saw you didn't recognize me at the Tokiwa gym. Wutong stiffly changed the subject. After you left that day, they tried to force me to sleep. It should be because of the medicine. I feel that my memory of you is disappearing. I have no choice but to seal and save the memory. Mewtwo explained slowly. I see. No wonder you didn't recognize me at that time. Wutong nodded in understanding. At the same time, Wutong found that Mewtwo seemed to be different from what he remembered. It didn't hate humans so much, nor was it so second year, and it didn't talk about finding Mew to prove itself. Is this the importance of early childhood education? Note 1. See the end of the article. However, Mewtwo still seems to want to prove that he is the strongest Pokémon trainer. After all, invitations have started to be distributed again. It's just that I don't know whether Xiaoxi got the invitation this time because of Wutong's participation, but Xiaoming and Shinji, the two characters who didn't appear, got the invitation. By the way, I haven't let you see the three little ones yet. Wutong said as he activated the power of Evergreen, and 3 spheres of different colors appeared. Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur floated in the spheres, sleeping with their eyes closed. Haven't they woken up yet? Mewtwo asked, looking at the 3 little ones. They haven't woken up yet, probably because they are different from Xiaoxia. Maybe they need to regain their bodies before they can wake up. Wutong said distressedly. Body? I might have a way. Mewtwo said after hearing what Wutong said. Really? Little Mewtwo is so powerful now. Xiaoxia flew to Mewtwo happily after hearing it and said. Come with me. Mewtwo turned around, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Old ghost, what are you planning with Mewtwo? Wutong asked Ghastly behind Mewtwo. Hehe, don't worry, little ghost, it's not a bad thing. You will definitely like it. Garcis said, keeping a secret. TSK, you're still so mysterious. Wutong said with a sneer. The dream monster saw that nothing was going on, yawned, and went back to Wutong's shadow to continue sleeping. Following Mewtwo, they came all the way to the basement of the castle. Complex instruments and several culture dishes were placed there. I can make bodies for them, Mewtwo said as he looked at the machines. Wutong nodded, as expected. After all, Mewtwo in the movie was ridiculously strong, with both technology and superpowers developing. Then let's try it. Wutong nodded and said. Hehe, I'll help too. Ghastly said with a smile. Mewtwo, Wutong, and Ghastly worked together, and after a whole night, Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur floated in 3 culture dishes. But these 3 were very small, and they were still absorbing nutrients from the culture solution. It seems to be successful. Wutong said with relief. Well, that's great. Xiaomeng looked at the three little ones and said. Then, you go. What do you want to do, Mewtwo? Wutong turned to Mewtwo and asked. I want to make you the strongest Pokémon trainer. Mewtwo said. Note 1. In the full version of the movie, there is a plot about Xiaoxia in the first 10 minutes. Binkuai always feels that the plot is actually very important to Mewtwo. It's like the enlightenment of a child. Although Mewtwo's memory disappeared later, Xiaoxia's remarks about the clone should have been secretly affecting Mewtwo. In addition, the attitude of those researchers towards Mewtwo caused Mewtwo's rebellious character at the beginning. In fact, Binkuai feels that, if Sakaki fooled Mewtwo, and didn't keep instilling the tool theory, trick Mewtwo into being his family, then Team Rocket would really have a legendary beast of their own. The above only represents Binkuai's personal opinion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82. After hearing what Mewtwo said, Wutong nodded. Sure enough, this guy is still in the middle school and still wants me to become the strongest Pokémon trainer. Wutong suddenly felt something was wrong and looked at Mewtwo with a puzzled look. Ghastly was floating on the side, looking at Wutong's confused look and laughing secretly. I'm very grateful that you brought me to know this world and saved Xiaoxia and the three little ones. Ghastly said that you would be happy like this, so we prepared this gift. Mewtwo said. Wutong immediately glared at Ghastly. You are a punk, and you actually tricked me. Seeing Wutong's sight, Ghastly was not panicked at all, and even made a face. Damn old ghost, your pornographic book this week is gone. Wutong thought viciously. Mewtwo, don't you hate humans? Don't you want revenge on humans? Wutong asked tentatively. In the movie, Mewtwo created the New Island incident because he wanted to take revenge on humans. Why? Wutong, you are a human. Xiaoxia was once a human. Why should I hate humans? Do you hate humans very much, Wutong? Mewtwo asked back. Of course not, but don't you think that humans created you without your consent? And don't you want to find Mew? Wutong felt that Mewtwo might be different and continued to ask. I might have thought so before I recovered my memory, but Wutong, you told Xiaoxia that you are you, not a copy or a number 2. And you took me to know this world, and I want to feel the sun, the wind, and everything more. Mewtwo raised his head and said. Wutong looked at Mewtwo and began to think, is this the so-called butterfly effect? But this is a good development. Really? It's great that you think so. But how do you want me to become the strongest trainer? It's not that easy. Wutong continued to ask. Garcis told me that Pokémon trainers who can obtain 8 gym badges are very powerful trainers. So the first step is to defeat them. Mewtwo said his plan. Defeat them? Wutong was stunned, and his expression became a little complicated. That's right, so we started sending invitations to trainers who have obtained 8 gym badges, inviting them to come here to see who is the strongest Pokémon trainer. Mewtwo nodded and replied. Isn't this the Quartz Conference? Wutong couldn't help but say. Quartz Conference? Mewtwo asked in confusion after hearing what Wutong said. Wutong explained to Mewtwo what the Quartz Conference was, and why most trainers who obtained 8 gym badges would be powerful trainers. Mewtwo actually showed a hint of embarrassment on his face after hearing this. It's okay, just treat it as an early friendly exchange match, Wutong said as he looked at Mewtwo. Anyway, the trainers in the Pokémon world are like the card players in Yu-Gi-Oh! If there is a problem, they can fight Pokémon. The villains can often achieve their goals with weird technological capabilities, but in the end they still have to fight the protagonist. So when Mewtwo takes the initiative to invite trainers to fight, everyone will definitely not think there is a problem, and they will all come happily. The date of the invitation is 3 days later. Before that, you need to become stronger. Mewtwo continued. But my Pokémon are not here, Wutong said helplessly. Dragonite took him away too suddenly, and he didn't have time to bring out the Pokémon. Hera. Roar. Several shouts sounded, and Heracross, Tyrannodon and Beedrill rushed in. They blocked in front of Wutong, and looked at Mewtwo fiercely. Interesting, they can't wait to be trained. Mewtwo said as he looked at the Pokémon that suddenly appeared in front of him. Chapter 83. The old man was very happy. It's okay, it won't hurt me, but how did you find me? Wutong asked, looking at the 3 Pokémon standing beside him, feeling touched and puzzled. Hera, Raw, Heracross and Terrasaur kept shouting at Wutong. The Beedrill flew back and forth, constantly gesturing with its 2 needle-like arms. Wutong nodded and understood what the Pokémon meant. Originally, they couldn't catch up with Dragonite, and the only one who could catch up, Crowhead, was held down by Swampert and Platypus, so they could only fly in the general direction. Then Beedrill said it could find the way, so Heracross let Beedrill lead the way, based on the principle of trusting his younger brother. Unexpectedly, Beedrill really found Wutong successfully. Very good, since we are here, let's have a training. Wutong nodded and said to the 3 Pokémon. Heracross, Beedrill, and Tyrannodon were all question marks on their faces. Have you heard of this? Wutong, you have to come too. As a trainer, how can you not have the ability to protect yourself? Mewtwo looked at Wutong and said. Actually, I have the blessing of the evergreen forest. Wutong looked away and said. The blessing of the evergreen forest? What attack ability does it have? Come on, you sit on me and see. Mewtwo thought for a moment after hearing what Wutong said. No, it's not good. Wutong tried to refuse. It's okay, I'm very strong. Don't worry about hurting me. Mewtwo said confidently. Wutong knew that he couldn't refuse after seeing Mewtwo's determined eyes, so he could only use the power of Evergreen on Mewtwo. Mewtwo looked serious and prepared. When the green light fell on him, Mewtwo lowered his head. Mewtwo trembled for a moment, and then looked at Wutong with a complicated expression. Are you sure it's okay? Mewtwo said faintly. It should be a big problem. Wutong wanted to say it was okay, but changed his mind after seeing Mewtwo's look. Hehe, give up resistance, little ghost. Ghastly said with a smile. Wutong looked up at the sky. Why do people who know me want to train me? Wait a minute, it's not just humans anymore. Even the Pokémon I know are starting to train me. Is this a Pokémon or a Pokémon trainer? In the breeding house, Xiaoming was holding a radar-like object to check the position of the Tikkun. I don't know if the Wutong Pokémon have caught up, Xiaoming said while looking at the radar. Why was that guy captured directly? That Dragonite should be the messenger. The messenger captured the recipient. Shinji covered his forehead and felt a headache. But it says that we are looking for powerful Pokémon trainers to fight. Could it be a new trick of the Quartz Conference? Xiaoming looked at the invitation beside him and said. It's unlikely, but can you really not crack this invitation? Although we will be told the location in 3 days, I'm a little worried that the guy will do something stupid to offend the organizer. Shinji said. Alas, you think too highly of me. I can only make a training device. I can't do anything about this invitation. Xiaoming sighed and said. Larget, Buban, Gap, Swampert, Platypus and Crowhead, the 3 giants, stood aside, looking at the 2 people discussing with a worried look on their faces. They were worried about Wutong's safety and afraid that Heracross and others would have an accident. For the first time, the 3 Pokémon felt that they were too weak, and their desire for strength became stronger. I was supposed to finish it today, but there were so many things to do that I felt like my body couldn't hold on any longer. I can only finish it slowly later. Sorry. Chapter 84. The 3 Pokémons, Swampert, Platypus and Crowhead, looked at Xiaoming and Shinji, who were constantly thinking about countermeasures and felt that they could not wait any longer. Even if they could not rescue Wutong immediately, there were things they could do. The 3 Pokémons shouted at Xiaoming and Shinji. What's wrong? Shinji asked the suddenly excited Swampert. Are they hungry? Xiaoming said uncertainly. After all, they were not his Pokémons, and they did not have enough tacit understanding and special abilities to understand the 3 Pokémons. They said they wanted to bring Heracross back. They can't let them run around outside. It will cause trouble for Wutong. Mobile Rotom suddenly appeared and said. Rotom Mobile was charging in the house before, so he missed the time when Wutong was kidnapped. Now that he has charged, he came out, but didn't see Wutong. What happened, Lotto? Why isn't Wutong in Lotto? Rotom Mobile asked. Swampert and several Pokémon began to tell Rotom Mobile what happened. I'll take the three of them to find Heracross and the others. Lotto Wutong didn't take Rotom with him. Rotom is very angry, Rotom Mobile said to Xiaoming and Xingji. Xingji and Xiaoming looked at each other when they saw the four Pokémon. It's up to you. After all, we are not your trainers. Xingji said. This guy should be saying that you should be careful and we will find Wutong's location as soon as possible. Xiaoming said. After that, Xiaoming handed the radar for tracking token to Rotom Mobile. The four Pokémon set off to find Heracross and the others. On the other side, in the new island, in Mewtwo's castle, on the open-air battlefield, Mewtwo and Wutong stood opposite each other. Mewtwo decided to train Wutong first, and at the edge of the field, Heracross, Beedrill and Tyranitar, who knew that Wutong would not be in danger, were neatly prepared to watch the show. Heracross also took out a handful of snacks from somewhere and shared them with Beedrill and Tyranitar. Wutong looked at his Pokémon speechlessly. Your trainer is about to be beaten. Aren't you worried at all? There are some people among you humans who have extremely strong mental power and can use superpowers. At first, I thought they were all born with superpowers, but I found that this can be trained. Mewtwo said to Wutong. So you want me to learn superpowers? Wutong asked. It would be great if I could learn superpowers. I haven't tried this kind of thing, so I won't teach you superpowers casually. Mewtwo shook his head and said. Is that so? Then how are you going to train me? Wutong continued to ask. Train your resistance to superpowers. Mewtwo said with blue light in his eyes. Wutong instantly felt a pressure that tried to push him to the ground. However, Wutong barely managed to hold on after his body was tempered in many aspects. Mewtwo was a little surprised to see that Wutong actually survived. Although it has control power, ordinary humans should also be pressed to the ground at this time. Your physical fitness is much better than I thought, but this is not enough. Concentrate your mind and try to fight me. Your willpower is strong enough to resist some superpowers. Mewtwo said with more strength. Wutong felt the pressure increase and could not resist and supported himself on the ground in an ORZ posture. At this time, Wutong no longer had the extra strength to speak and could only try to concentrate. Hehe, it's a good time to train the little Pokémon's ability to resist hypnosis. Ghastly looked at Wutong from another direction, his eyes emitting a faint light, and began to hypnotize Wutong. With Ghastly's disruption, Wutong was under even greater pressure. You three, are you ready to just watch your trainer train? Mewtwo said to Heracross, Beedrill, and Teresa who were watching the show. When the three Pokémon heard Mewtwo's words, they looked at each other and came to Wutong together, training with Wutong to resist superpowers and hypnosis. And Xiaoming's toucan trembled at the scene in front of him. It was so scary here, and he wanted to go home. In the shadow of Wutong, the dream demon felt two different energies constantly disturbing its sleep. Before, following Shiba it was fine during training, as it had no effect on the shadow. But now Mewtwo and Ghastly's training methods have not spared even the dream demon and the shadow. Dream. The angry dream demon rushed out of Wutong's shadow. Seeing that Mewtwo and Ghastly were teaming up to bully Wutong and his younger brother, the dream demon was angry. Dream. With a scream, waves of energy were emitted in all directions. It was a shock, but the way it was presented was very unusual. Feeling the energy fluctuations, Mewtwo was not affected at all, but the dream demon successfully aroused Mewtwo's interest. Mewtwo felt that there was a hidden power in the dream demon's body. Ghastly was not so relaxed. Although he was hit by the dream demon's shock, he did not lose his combat ability, but Ghastly found that the damage was higher than he thought. What's wrong with this little guy? He has become stronger after sleeping every day. Ghastly said to himself in surprise. Wutong and Heracross, who were suppressed by Mewtwo's mental power and Ghastly's hypnosis, didn't notice what happened at all. They were still trying to resist, but Ghastly's hypnosis stopped for a while because of the attack, and Wutong and Heracross breathed a sigh of relief. Dream Demon, why did you come out? Wutong, who breathed a sigh of relief, saw the Dream Demon and asked with difficulty. Dream. The Dream Demon responded, and looking at Mewtwo who still didn't stop, the Dream Demon directly used hypnosis. Mewtwo also wanted to confirm the ability of the Dream Demon, so he simply let the dream demon's hypnosis hit him without protection. Feeling the real feeling of hypnosis, Mewtwo decided to train the dream demon well. Chapter 86. After getting ready, Wutong, Mewtwo, and Ghastly returned to the upper level of the castle. Although we have 3 little ones, it's still not very reliable. I don't have the confidence to defeat a group of trainers with 3 Pokémon, Wutong said to Mewtwo. Not to mention the ridiculous combat power of Xiai and Pikachu in the movie. Even the other Shinji, Xiaomei, and Xiaoming are not easy to defeat. Don't worry, little ghost, Mewtwo and I will cover you, Ghastly reassured Wutong. But this is still one less. The Demon King can't even get 6 Pokémon together. It's too embarrassing. Wutong covered his forehead and began to think about where to find the 6th Pokémon. After all, Mewtwo and Ghastly don't need Wutong's command at all, so there is no need to worry about their strange physique being affected. The 3 little ones should be fine. They are also a kind of shining, so where should the 6th Pokémon be found? Dream. At this time, Mengyeo came out from Wutong's shadow and shouted provocatively at Mewtwo and Ghastly. In the past 2 days, Mengyeo can be said to be more and more courageous. Even the time for sleeping has been shortened, just wanting to revenge. Ghastly and Mewtwo are staring at Mengyeo. They may know where the 6th Pokémon is. Hehe, little guy, you are very brave, Ghastly said with a smile. Come on, it's the last day. I should let you see my true strength, Mewtwo also said. Mengyeo felt something was wrong. Why are these 2 guys different from the previous 2 days? That luck is serious. Little Mengyeo, you came out at a bad time. But come on, it shouldn't be dangerous. Wutong touched Mengyeo's head and said. Dream? Mengyeo was shocked. What on earth are you going to do? Pokémon is a very magical creature, not only because of their strange attributes and abilities, but also because of their evolution. If it is in the game, the evolution rules of Pokémon are fixed, and it is difficult to change without cheating. However, in the real world, the evolution of Pokémon is more abundant, which is also what many researchers have been studying all their lives. In Mewtwo's view, Mengyeo is very healthy under Wutong's careful cultivation, and may even be a little overnourished. If it is an ordinary Pokémon, it should have evolved directly without the suppression of the Stone of Unchanging. It's just that the evolution of Pokémon of the race of Mengyeo seems to need a little external catalysis. Mewtwo feels that he can do this with his own ability. So, in the battlefield, Mewtwo faced Mengyeo again. On the other side, Ghastly also grinned, ready to help Mewtwo again. Dream. Mengyeo shouted to give himself courage. I can't use my superpowers. I'm not very good at it, but it shouldn't be a problem. Mewtwo looked at the dream demon and said to himself. Hehe, let me go first. If the little guy falls asleep first, it will be more convenient for you, Ghastly said. Wutong, who was standing at the edge of the field, watched everything that was about to happen. He had already guessed the purpose of Mewtwo and Ghastly. The little girl who was a stay-at-home girl in her own shadow every day and had no interest in fighting at all, got a very good opportunity to become stronger. I don't know whether it was lucky or unfortunate. Ghastly attacked without any prompts, and his eyes emitted a faint blue light. The materialized hypnotic wave shot directly at the dream demon. Dream. The dream demon was not to be outdone, and also fought back with hypnosis. After all, its other attack methods had no effect on Ghastly and Mewtwo. However, Ghastly, who was going all out, directly crushed the dream demon, and the hypnotic wave instantly enveloped the dream demon. The dream demon gradually fell into a deep sleep, but strangely, the dream demon did not fall down, but floated in the air with eyes closed. Hehe, although I prefer to make people have nightmares, if I want to make this little guy evolve, it's better to spend it in a sweet dream, Ghastly said and continued to use hypnosis. Wutong looked at the smiling face of the dream demon and felt that Ghastly's hypnosis was stronger than he thought. Dream, the dream demon murmured in his dream. Wutong began to wonder what the dream demon dreamed about, but seeing the dream demon's face gradually becoming an infomaniac, he felt that it was better not to know too much about some things. Then it's my turn, Mewtwo said and raised one hand. A dark purple energy ball appeared, and as Mewtwo continued to infuse energy, the energy ball became more and more. It's getting bigger and bigger. This should be a shadow ball, right? Wutong couldn't help but say as he looked at the dark purple energy ball that was getting bigger and bigger. Hehe, don't worry, the ghost energy condensed by Mewtwo must be more and purer than the stone you used last time. Ghastly floated to Wutong and said. Mewtwo felt that it was almost done, so he waved his hand directly, and the huge shadow ball slowly floated towards the Dream Demon until it wrapped up the Dream Demon. In this way, the Dream Demon was dreaming of some kind of beautiful dream while absorbing a large amount of pure ghost energy. When it absorbed all the energy, it was time for it to complete its evolution. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be completed in the evening. Mewtwo also walked to Wutong and said, in that case, let's start preparing dinner. I promised you that I would let you taste my cooking. Wutong thought about it and said to Mewtwo. After hearing what Wutong said, Mewtwo was stunned at first, then smiled and nodded. With the help of a group of Pokémon, Wutong began to prepare dinner. In order not to miss the evolution of the Dream Demon, everything was carried out next to the battlefield. Xiaoming's toucan mixed in. It felt that it would be difficult to survive here if it didn't work hard. In the evening, Wutong made a sumptuous meal. This was also the first time that Mewtwo tried to eat. After all, it would not have any problems, even if it didn't eat anything. Feeling the deliciousness of the food, Mewtwo showed a surprised look on his face, and then looked at Wutong. It felt that Wutong always brought it surprises. Wutong and a group of Pokémon ate dinner while waiting for the Dream Demon to evolve. I don't know how long it took. The dark purple energy ball in the center of the battlefield suddenly began to shrink and expand, just like a heart. As the shrinkage and expansion became faster and faster, the dark purple energy ball disappeared directly in front of Wutong and a group of Pokémon. Dream Demon. Seeing the dark purple energy ball suddenly disappear, Wutong shouted anxiously and then looked at Mewtwo for help. Don't worry, the Dream Demon is right next to us. Mewtwo comforted Wutong. Hehe, this little guy wants to play a prank right after he evolved. Ghastly also discovered the location of the Dream Demon and disappeared directly in front of Wutong. A familiar voice appeared in Wutong's ears. Wutong turned his head and looked, and a familiar yet unfamiliar figure came into Wutong's eyes. It seemed to be wearing a witch hat on its head, and the whole thing looked like a witch wrapped in a robe, with 3 purple-red gems on its body, 1 large and 2 small. The whole was a kind of white that was difficult to describe. Not pure white, but not turbid. There was a gradient of pink on the brim of the hat and the tip of the hat, as well as the edge of the skirt under the body. Under the brim of the hat, there was a pair of charming blood-red eyes, with a mischievous look in the eyes. Dream Demon. No, Dream Demon, you have become more beautiful. Wutong smiled and touched the head of Dream Demon and said, it seems that with the help of Mewtwo, after the evolution of Dream Demon, it is not the original shining yellow, but another color. But the current color scheme is much better than yellow. Dream. After hearing what Wutong said, Dream Demon was stunned for a moment, and then 2 red spots appeared on his face. Really, his trainer always likes to play cards out of the routine. Chapter 87. The first time, the last time, the last time. All Wutong's Pokémon gathered around curiously, looking at the new look of their big sister. The Dream Demon proudly turned around among a group of Pokémon, showing off her appearance. Then, let's see tomorrow, Wutong said with a smile as he watched his Pokémon playing together. The next day, at the same time, all the trainers who received the invitation took out the invitation on time. The invitation was automatically activated, and a projection of a person wearing black armor and a cloak behind him, whose face could not be seen clearly, appeared. The figure informed the trainers of the venue of the ceremony. All of a sudden, a large number of trainers began to rush to their destination, and many trainers suddenly poured into the port city near the new island. In the breeding house, Xiaoming and Shinji stood there. The destination is out, let's go too. Xiaoming put away the invitation in his hand and said, well, let's go and rescue that idiot. Shinji said calmly. In Pallet Town, at Xiaoxi's home, Xiaozhi, Xiaoxia and Xiaogang gathered together and looked at the invitation in their hands. Okay, let's go too, Xiaozhi said excitedly. Pika Pika. Pikachu also shouted passionately. But I feel very strange. Xiaoxia questioned. It's useless, Xiaoxia. Xiaozhi can't stop it now. Xiaogang looked at Xiaozhi and Pikachu who were burning and said helplessly. On a beach, Xiaomei, who was dressed in holiday clothes and wearing sunglasses, put away the invitation. It's really interesting. Okay, my dear girls, let's go. No matter what competition it is, the first place must belong to my uncle Xiaomei. Xiaomei said confidently. Xiaomao is the best. Xiaomao will win. X6 The 6 girls shouted slogans in coordination and followed Xiaomao to the new island. In the castle hall of the new island, Wutong has changed into a black armor and sat on the throne in the center of the hall. He played with a black half-face mask in his hand. Mewtwo and Dream Demon stood on both sides of Wutong, waiting for the trainers to arrive. Although you look handsome now, those trainers will not arrive until a day later at the earliest. Don't forget that they not only have to rush to the port city of the new island, but also have to pass the storm. Ghastly said with a complicated expression. Ahem, sorry, I'm too into the role. Isn't it time to try it on first to see if the clothes fit? Wutong said, touching his head. This black armor is much lighter than expected. It seems that it is not made of ordinary metal. Then what needs to be done next is to wait. In the port city of the new island, Miss Junja and Miss Joy are maintaining law and order together. Since yesterday, there has been a sudden violent storm, and today a group of Pokémon trainers have entered the city. These Pokémon trainers have to go to the new island at this time, and now Miss Junja and Miss Joy are really a little anxious. There are more people than expected. Xiaoming said as he looked at the crowd in the port hall. With so many people, the playboy who likes to show off must be here too. Shinji said as he looked at the bustling crowd. As soon as Shinji finished speaking, a car horn sounded. The crowd unconsciously made way for a road, and a red convertible sports car drove in. There were 6 beautiful girls with different styles in the car, and a snotty boy wearing sunglasses enjoyed the attention of the audience and drove the car slowly. How did this guy drive the car in? Xiaoming looked puzzled. Humph, playboy. Shinji snorted coldly. Xiaomao, come to fight with me. An untimely voice appeared. Xiaoxi appeared in front of the convertible sports car, blocking Xiaomao's way forward and said, this guy's really a jerk. Xiaoxia chased after him with Tajipi in her arms. Every time I see Xiaomao, I feel so envious. Xiaogang looked at the 6 beautiful girls with different styles in Xiaomao's car, and tears kept flowing into his heart. Isn't this the last one in Pallet Town? But it's a pity that I don't have time to play with you now. Xiaomao jumped out of the car and waved his hand. What? Xiaoxi shouted angrily with his fists clenched. Pikachu also shouted to defend Xiaoxi. This storm suddenly appeared yesterday, but this city has never had a storm since it was built. I have never seen a storm of this magnitude before, so it is obvious that this storm is not naturally formed. Then the answer is very simple. This is a test. Xiaomao said confidently. What? Test? Xiaozhi said in surprise. It seems that this game is more interesting than I thought. My girls, it is not a gentleman's behavior to put girls in danger, so you can cheer for me here. Xiaomao flicked his hair and said to the 6 girls. Come on, Xiaomao. Xiaomao is the best. X6 he is indeed a playboy, but it is also a bit enviable. Xiaoming looked at Xiaomao and his cheerleaders and said. Boring, let's go too. Shinji said and walked towards the port. Are you going to Zindao in the storm? Xiaoming followed and said. Although that playboy likes to show off, he won't say anything nonsense. This storm is likely to be a test. Shinji said calmly. Really? But my chicken is not around. It seems that I can only rely on the stinging jellyfish. Xiaoming said to himself. Pidgeot, get ready. Shinji did not choose to go by water and directly called out Pidgeot. Pidgeot. As soon as Pidgeot came out, he began to look for the figure of Crowhead, but it was a pity that he didn't see it. Pidgeot, fly above the dark clouds. Shinji turned over and rode on Pidgeot and said to me. Pidgeot. Pidgeot called out, and with a flap of his wings, he rushed straight up with Shinji and rushed into the dark clouds. TSK, you are so calm when you speak, but you are still anxious when you act. Stinging jellyfish, let's go too. We finally met a good boss. Xiaoming called out the stinging jellyfish and jumped onto it and said. In the hall, with Xiaomao's words, all the Pokémon trainers present couldn't help it, and ran out to hand over their Pokémon, and go to the new island in their own way. You, stop now. If you don't stop, I will arrest you. Miss Juncha and Miss Joy chased out. Please arrest me, I'm willing to be trapped in the cage of your love forever. Xiaogang came out of nowhere, and grabbed Miss Juncha's hand and said, okay, we have to go too. Xiaoxia grabbed Xiaogang's ear and dragged him away. What's going on here? Xiaogang came and went quickly, and Miss Juncha didn't react for a while. Forget it, they are all Pokémon trainers and adventurers, we can't stop them. Miss Joy said. Wutong sat on the throne and waited boredly. The evolved Dream Demon felt that he was good enough and used hypnosis on Mewtwo. Mewtwo was hypnotized. Dream Demon got carried away and used provocation. Mewtwo woke up and used telekinesis. Dream Demon type GG. Wutong looked at Dream Demon and his eyes twitched. What's going on? Although Dream Demon liked to play pranks before it evolved, it would not commit suicide. Who influenced it? Wutong thought for a moment and decided to let Dream Demon play less with Crowhead in the future. Crowhead. On the other side, Ghastly started to receive guests and waited for the arrival of Pokémon trainers. After an unknown amount of time, the first guest arrived. Chapter 88. The two of them were so busy that they had to wait for the next 2 days. It seems that I'm the first one to arrive. The stinging jellyfish brought Xiaoming out of the water. Please follow me this way. At this time, Ghastly, who was disguised as a girl from the Girl Gorge, began to lead Xiaoming. Xiaoming followed Ghastly directly to a hall where there was a long table. At the table, a boy with purple hair and a gloomy face was already sitting there. It was Shinji who had already arrived. TSK, I thought I was the first one. Sure enough, flying is faster than swimming. Xiaoming sat directly next to Shinji and said, Gap. Before Shinji could reply, a familiar bird call sounded. Toucan? Xiaoming looked over and said in surprise. Gap. The Toucan shed tears of excitement when he saw Xiaoming, flew over and hugged Xiaoming. It seems that Wutong's Pokémon arrived much earlier than us. Shinji said to the excited Toucan. It seems so, but where is Wutong? I didn't even see his Pokémon. Xiaoming looked around and said, I don't know. There was no one in the hall when I arrived. Shinji shook his head and said, Toucan, do you know what's going on? Where are Wutong and his Pokémon? Xiaoming asked the Toucan. Gap. The Toucan called a few times and then kept gesturing. Xiaoming looked at the Toucan and nodded continuously. The Toucan called out in conclusion. Well, I don't understand at all. Shinji, do you understand? Xiaoming turned to Shinji and said, let's wait until the others arrive. Shinji said speechlessly. After a while, several more Pokémon trainers arrived at the hall. A girl with short hair, a boy wearing a blue vest who looked relatively sturdy, and a boy with thick bangs. Someone arrived faster than me. It seems that you are very powerful. The blue vest said. Please take your seats. Trainers can release their Pokémon. We have also prepared food for Pokémon. The female Ghastly said. The three of them found a seat and sat down, and then released their Pokémon. Shinji and Xiaoming looked at each other, and released their Pokémon first. Xiaomao, come and fight with me. Humph, so childish. I have other opponents to deal with, and I don't have time to play with you. Two voices sounded. Xiaomao and Xiaozhi walked in together, and behind them were Xiaoxia and Xiaogang who looked helpless. This is not a gloomy monster. I didn't expect you to be invited. Xiaomao saw Shinji and challenged him directly. HMPH, Playboy, where are your female companions? Did they finally see through your weakness and abandon you? Shinji retorted bluntly. Xiaoming. Xiaozhi also saw Xiaoming and shouted in surprise. Hey, long time no see Xiaozhi. And Xiaoxia and Xiaogang. Xiaoming also greeted Xiaozhi. This is really an interesting situation. Two guys who have a connection with Xiaozhi, and a future rival who will be deeply entangled with Xiaozhi. Is this sure a field? In another room, Wutong, wearing black armor, sat on the throne, looking at a set of large screens in front of him, and talking to himself. Dream? The Dream Demon floated beside Wutong with a puzzled look on his face. Mewtwo leaned against the throne, folded his hands, and closed his eyes to rest. Hehe, the first level is over, so let's start the second level. Wutong, who was deeply immersed in the play, said in the tone of ghastly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89. The two of them were very busy. Garcis, dressed as a girl from the Girl Gorge, was dressed very tightly, so no one recognized Xiao Gang, but he just felt that she looked familiar. Everyone, congratulations on passing the first test. Those Pokémon trainers who failed to pass the storm are not eligible to participate in the next competition. The female Ghastly said pretentiously. Sure enough, my guess was not wrong at all. Xiaomei said proudly. Humph, Playboy occasionally has a bright mind. Shinji said. Shinji and Xiaomei stared at each other and refused to give in. Please don't quarrel, we will proceed to the second stage next. The female Ghastly said. Second stage? What do we do in the second stage? Xiaoming asked. Please release your Pokémon first. We have prepared special food for Pokémon, said the female Ghastly. Everyone present looked at each other and then obediently released their Pokémon. Then, the second stage is very simple. As trainers, can you defeat yourself? Said the female Ghastly and clapped her hands. Before all the Pokémon trainers could react, black Pokéballs that had never been seen before appeared in front of the Pokémon on the field. What is this? Xiaoxi said puzzledly. Then, these black Pokéballs sucked all the Pokémon present in. What are you doing? The short-haired girl shouted. However, the shouting had no effect. There was no Pokémon present, except the female Ghastly. Asshole. Give Pikachu back to me. Xiaoxi saw Pikachu being caught and went berserk, and rushed directly to the Pokéball that absorbed Pikachu. Mewtwo, go help Ghastly, Wutong said. After hearing what Wutong said, Mewtwo opened his eyes and disappeared beside the throne. Please rest assured, we will not harm your Pokémon, the female Ghastly said. What a joke. How can we believe this? The blue vest roared. Quiet. Mewtwo instantly appeared beside the female Ghastly, his eyes glowing, and everyone present felt a sense of pressure and lost their ability to move. Shinji and Xiaoming looked at Mewtwo in front of them with a flash of horror in their eyes. Because this Pokémon, which they had never seen before, was not wearing mechanical armor, but this figure and this sense of oppression made Shinji and Xiaoming recognize that this was the Pokémon they met in the Tokiwa gym. Everyone present could only watch their Pokémon being sent underground. Damn it. Perhaps because he felt that this was a plot of the theater version, Tomoya took the lead and actually stopped under the pressure of Mewtwo's telekinesis. Mewtwo frowned at Xiaoxi, who was still able to move, and then took care of Xiaoxi attentively. Although the ZI mode was turned on, Xiaoxi was still pressed to the ground under Mewtwo's intentional care. Don't worry, your Pokémon will be fine. Female Ghastly emphasized again. Everyone present could only wait in despair. Shinji and Xiaoming were desperate and began to worry about Wutong's safety. After a while, the black Pokéballs that sucked away their Pokémon appeared again. The black Pokéball flew in front of a Pokémon trainer. Then their Pokémon was released again. What is going on? The Pokémon trainers present were all full of questions at this time. Chapter 90. The whole scene was a mess, but the whole scene was a mess. Everyone present could only watch their Pokémon being sent underground. Damn it. Perhaps because he felt that this was a theatrical plot, ZI took the lead and actually stopped under the pressure of Mewtwo's telekinesis. Mewtwo frowned at Xiaoxi, who was still able to move, and then took care of Xiaoxi again. Although ZI mode was turned on, Xiaoxi was still pressed to the ground under Mewtwo's intentional care. Don't worry, your Pokémon will be fine. Female Ghastly emphasized again. Everyone present could only wait in despair. Shinji and Xiaoming were desperate and began to worry about Wutong's safety. After a while, the black Pokéballs that had sucked away their Pokémon reappeared. The black Pokéballs flew to a Pokémon trainer. Then their Pokémon were released again. What is going on? The Pokémon trainers present were all full of questions. Mewtwo also lifted the suppression at this time, and everyone present came to their Pokémon to check if they had any abnormalities. What happened? Meowth and Pikachu were placed in front of Xiaozhi and said in a daze. Pikachu. Ignoring the Meowth, he picked up Pikachu directly. Pikachu responded in spirit, and it was obvious that there was nothing wrong. Everyone, we are just looking for a powerful Pokémon trainer. It will not harm your Pokémon, so please rest assured. Female Ghastly reiterated. You are too suspicious. What are you going to do? Xiaoxia asked loudly while holding to GP. Then the next stage is the second stage. Everyone, defeat your own Pokémon. The female Ghastly ignored Xiaoxia and clapped her hands again. The hall shook and a wall rose, and a large battlefield appeared in front of everyone. What shocked everyone even more was that a group of familiar looking Pokémon were waiting in the field. They are Xiao Gang, who was working hard to become an excellent Pokémon breeder, saw the problem at a glance. These Pokémon in front of them are definitely related to their Pokémon. It's not just as simple as the same Lindoop. They are copies of your Pokémon, and their overall quality will be a little stronger, but they all have to fight on their own, so as the commanders, try to defeat yourself. Only the winner has the right to enter the next game. The female Ghastly explained passionately. Mewtwo looked at these copies, which was Ghastly's advice to it. Although Mewtwo thought of Wutong, Xiaoxia and the three little ones, so that it would not hate humans, the identity of a copy was still a grudge in its heart. Mewtwo felt that it could not easily integrate into the world of ordinary Pokémon, and it was difficult for it to stay with Wutong with its identity. So Mewtwo had a new confusion. Where should it go, and what should it do? Mewtwo was both happy and envious of Xiaoxia's choice, because Xiaoxia, as a kind of person, had her own path. Ghastly found that Mewtwo was in self-doubt again, and directly gave a solution. Since it felt that it could not integrate into the ordinary Pokémon, it would be better to copy some Pokémon as partners. By that time, maybe you would know what you want to do. In addition, Ghastly fooled Wutong to give a gift, so the two Pokémon directly planned the second stage of this time, and added some partners for Mewtwo. It turned out to be a copy of our Pokémon? The boy with thick bangs said in disbelief. Is this possible? The short-haired girl also asked. Whether she said it was true or false, I will never lose. The blue vest said confidently. So, why does Meowth also look like he wants to fight? Meowth is a free Pokémon. Meow. Meowth shouted while standing in the middle. Hey, this Meowth can actually talk. XN at this time, everyone present also discovered the difference of Meowth. I'm not an ordinary Meowth. Meowan. Little brats, why are you all so surprised? Meow. Meowth shouted to Xiaozhi and the other two. What? It turned out to be Meowth. Xiaozhi also reacted said. Pikachu climbed onto Xiaozhi's shoulder skillfully and called twice. Are these people really okay? The female Ghastly looked at the Pokémon trainers in front of him with a troubled look. Mewtwo didn't know how to react, so he simply disappeared from the spot and went directly back to Wutong, leaving the place to Ghastly. Then, everyone, please start. Our medical equipment is also very complete. Please feel free to fight. The female Ghastly clapped her hands again. The hall shook again, and the wall on the other side rose, and a very complete set of treatment equipment appeared in front of everyone. Thank you for your hard work, Mewtwo. They are a group of interesting guys, right? Especially the guy with Pikachu. Wutong said, looking at the big screen in front of him. Not bad. Mewtwo said calmly, but still looked at Xiaozhi twice more. The temporary bodies of the three little ones are also completed, so who will pass the second stage first? As soon as Wutong finished speaking, three heavy footsteps appeared behind the throne. Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise showed their figures, but their colors were darker, and they had different patterns, and their bodies were larger than their ordinary counterparts. Wutong and Mewtwo looked at the screen together. At this time, the Pokémon trainers on the screen had already commanded their Pokémon to fight with their copies. After all, they were copies. Even if they had different ideas, they were similar in some ways. For example, they all did not reject fighting. After all, Pokémon that rejected fighting would not have been able to travel with trainers until now. There were fierce collisions, and there were slacking. Two Psyducks stood together, tilting their heads and dazed together, and slapped the other side when they didn't want to daze. Meowth was much more harmonious, and was originally worried about whether he could beat him. As a result, it found that its so-called copy was more slacking than it, and it lay down beside it and started staring at the sky. Meowth saw that it didn't need to do anything and just sat there and chatted with the copy Meowth. The trainers fighting on the field were basically in a tough battle. After all, they were facing Pokémon that were exactly the same as themselves, and their overall quality was even higher. At this time, the importance of tactics was reflected. On the field, Shinji and Xiaomei were the two in the best situation, followed by Xiaozhi and Xiaoming. Xiaozhi in Zi mode highlighted an idealism, and the Pokémon took care of themselves and directly suppressed the opponent. However, the old Spray was still rebellious, turning a deaf ear to Xiaozhi's command and fighting with his own copy. The copy of the old Spray also copied the rebellious character of the old Spray. The two Charizards did not obey each other, and they fought regardless of the situation nearby. It often affected the innocent, which increased the difficulty of the battle for others. As for Xiaoming, it was not that he did not understand tactics, but his training method caused the copies he faced to be unusually strong. The short-haired girl, the blue vest and the boy with thick bangs were completely suppressed. Damn it, you're the last one. Take care of your Charizard. Xiaomei couldn't help but yelled at Xiaozhi. I'm taking care of it, but Charizard doesn't listen to me. Xiaozhi was still trying to defend himself. How could such a trainer be invited? Although the timing of the first meeting was changed, the first impression of Xiaozhi was still not good. It seems that the players of the ring match are basically determined, Wutong said while looking at the screen. Without any surprise, the three passers-by basically had no chance. Xiaomei and Shinji were about to finish the battle, and Xiaoming and Xiaozhi should not be much later. As for Xiaoxia and Xiaogang, the situation on their side was not quite right. Xiaoxia had already started to coax the two to GP to play. Xiaogang started the beauty course on the spot and gave the two Vulpix a beauty treatment. The other Pokémon also surrounded them in a happy scene. Then we should also prepare, Wutong said and pressed a button hidden on the throne. The floor under the throne began to sink, bringing Wutong and the Pokémon directly to the lower level, which was a new battle site. It was also the location of the third stage of the ring match. Now Wutong only needed to wait for the first challenger to arrive. After a while, the first challenger appeared. This is the final stage. Only the trainer who can still stand on the ring can become the final winner. Ghastly in female costume came here with the boy. Pikachu, let's cheer together. To Wutong's surprise, the first trainer to arrive was not Xiaomei or its Shinji, but Xiaozhi. At this time, near the Pokémon medical device in the castle, the clone Pikachu looked confused, wondering why they were all Pikachus with the same genes, but the 100,000 volts on the other side was like thunder, and the thunder was like a punishment from heaven. Is this scientific? This is not scientific. Isn't this bullying the yellow-skinned mouse? The other Pokémon clones of Xiaozhi also nodded in agreement. It was really too bullying for Pokémon. Are you the first challenger? Wutong asked. I'm Xiaozhi from Pallet Town. Are you the opponent of the third level? I will definitely defeat you, Xiaozhi said confidently. Pika. Pikachu also called out twice in cooperation. Forget it, everyone is the same anyway. Come on, let me see how strong the first person who passes the second level is. Wutong stood up from the throne, threw the cloak behind him, and walked to the side of the battlefield. At this time, Wutong's face was already wearing a black half-face mask. According to the requirements of people in this world for cross-dressing and the degree of face blindness, Wutong at this time could not be recognized at all. Because it is a ring battle, each person is limited to 3 Pokémon. The side that loses all the ability to fight will fail, and the winner can stay on the ring and wait for the next challenger. The female Ghastly acted as the referee. Wutong looked at the skilled appearance of the female Ghastly and suddenly became curious about what this guy had experienced. Is this the experience of being popular for 1,000 years? It seems that he knows everything and can do it. No problem, Pikachu, let's go. Xiaozhi twisted his hat and shouted with a wave of his hand. Pikachu jumped into the battlefield with spirit, not looking like he had just finished a battle. Pikachu said that he didn't fight enough just now, and he wanted to fight 3 more. Pikachu? In that case, Frog, you go. Wutong sent out his first Pokémon after seeing Pikachu on the field. After all, the three little ones had just been resurrected, and they were eager to move. Banner with heavy steps, Bulbasaur, who was driving the temporary body in the form of Bulbasaur, walked into the battlefield. As for the little frog, it was named by Xiao AI, and Wutong didn't mind, and just called it that way. Pikachu, 100,000 volts. Xiaozhi saw Bulbasaur on the field, and asked Pikachu to use 100,000 volts without any hesitation. Little frog, light wall. Wutong said calmly. For some reason, wearing this armor, Wutong felt calmer than before. Pikachu. Pikachu jumped directly into the air, and strong lightning appeared from Pikachu's body. Banner. Little frog called out, and a pink translucent energy wall appeared in front of Little Frog, blocking the incoming lightning. Is this really 100,000 volts? Wutong looked at the thick lightning, and couldn't help swallowing his saliva, and muttered to himself. After resisting for a while, Frog's light wall finally broke apart. However, the remaining lightning could not cause much damage to Frog. We can't let it continue, otherwise this castle may not be safe. Frog. Continuous vine whip interference, then poison powder, hypnotic powder. Wutong commanded. Banner. Although Frog's Bulbasaur's temporary body speed is not fast, referring to the same speed race value as Dragonite, it does not affect the swinging speed of the vine whip. Two dark green vine whips stretched out from the flowers on the back, and whipped towards Pikachu with a sound of breaking wind. Pikachu, get out of the way. Xiaozhi quickly used the top defense skill to get out of the way. Pikachu began to dodge in the gap between the two vine whips swinging at high speed. Frog also knew that this would not work, and directly followed the two vine whips, and two different colors of powder flew out. However, Pikachu, who was concentrating on dodging, did not notice it at the first time. This is Pikachu, come out. Xiaozhi, who was standing on the sidelines, noticed something strange on the field, and started to want Pikachu to run out. It's too late, Frog, increase the force. Wutong continued to command. Banner. Frog no longer restrained himself, and two kinds of powder gushed out. Pikachu was instantly covered with poison powder and hypnotic powder. Pikachu called out weakly, and fell directly to the ground and fell asleep. Pikachu. Xiaozhi ran up quickly regardless of the two kinds of powder. Small fire. Although Xiaozhi was a super newcomer, Wutong still let the small fire in the form of Charizard blow away the powder in the field immediately. Wutong didn't say much, but stood there silently, with Mewtwo and Dream Demon on the left and right, and the three little ones stood behind Wutong. At this time, his force was full, like the arrival of the devil. Chapter 91. The old man was very worried. Wutong looked at Xiaozhi who was still holding Pikachu and looked worried, feeling a little helpless. It wasn't a life and death separation, so why did he feel like he had really become a big devil? Go on, there are treatment equipment in the castle, your Pikachu will be fine. Wutong couldn't help but say. At this time, footsteps came from the entrance again, and Shinji, Xiaomao, and Xiaoming walked in together. The last one got ahead. Xiaomao came in and taunted. Did that Pikachu lose? Shinji walked in, and saw Xiaozhi holding Pikachu, and said with a frown. After all, the lightning that seemed like a punishment from heaven left a deep impression on him. Is that scary guy also his Pokémon? Even if there is no chance of winning, we have to inflict some damage on it. We can't just let the last revenge go, Xiaoming said when he saw Mewtwo. After all, in his cognition, Mewtwo is still a monster Pokémon with terrifying strength, and he didn't think of it as a legendary beast at all. Are they all here? It seems that we need to speed up the progress. Please tell them the rules. My battle with this guy is not over yet, Wutong said to the female Ghastly. Hearing Wutong's voice, Shinji frowned, as if he had some guesses. Female Ghastly walked in front of Shinji and the others, and explained the rules. I won't give up. I must avenge Pikachu, Xiaozhi said. Pikachu, hey, I'm still alive. Go, Charizard. Xiaozhi, who was a little excited, directly sent out the disobedient old Charizard. Xiaozhi, who just started traveling, is really easy to get excited. Wutong couldn't help thinking. Xiaoho, go ahead. Wutong sent Xiaoho in the form of Charizard without much hesitation. Roar. Xiaoho roared and came to the battlefield. The Charizard that was released again was originally planning to find a place to sleep, but after seeing Xiaoxia, he immediately ignited his warlike heart. Roar. Why are you roaring at me? Believe it or not, I will tear you apart. Charizard roared at Xiaoxia. Xiaoxia was stunned. Although it is now more than a circle larger than Charizard, it may be only 1 month old, and is still a child. It was wronged by such a roar. Huh. Bullying my child? Xiaoxia. Big word explosion. Wutong was a little angry when he saw his child was scared. Roar. Xiaoxia heard Wutong's voice and spit out a ball of fire. The fireball exploded on the way and formed a big word shape and rushed towards Charizard. Roar. Charizard was not afraid at all and directly spit out a mouthful of flame to hit the small fire. However, although Charizard was full of momentum, it was now a little underdeveloped and insufficient in strength due to forced evolution. The small fire's big word explosion directly hit Charizard with the flame of Charizard. According to the second law of the Pokémon world, no matter what type of attack, it must be able to cause an explosion. So the big word explosion exploded directly on Charizard. Under the impact of the explosion, Charizard flew backwards. But the old Charizard was the old Charizard after all, and quickly adjusted his body shape and returned to the field. At this time, Charizard became more irritable and roared at the small fire. The small fire was also a little angry and directly imitated Charizard and spit out a mouthful of flame. What goes around comes around. Charizard, who always washes Xiaoxia's face with flames, will one day be washed by the flames of other Pokémon. Charizard, don't give up, use the jet of fire. Xiaoxia cheered Charizard on the sidelines. Roar. Charizard turned around and blew a flame. What a naughty kid. Wutong couldn't help but say as he watched Charizard and Xiaoxia's loving interaction. Xiaoxia, attack with your wings. Wutong decided to end the battle as soon as possible, otherwise this naughty kid might not know what to do. Xiaoxia's wings glowed and he rushed directly towards Charizard. Charizard looked at Xiaoxia rushing over, shook his head, sprayed out a little spark, and then a flame came out of his fist and hit Xiaoxia. Dragon Claw. Wutong commanded calmly. Roar. After the wings and fists collided, Xiaoxia turned sideways, and his claws were covered with blue-purple energy, and he grabbed Charizard directly. It's worthy of being a carefully crafted body, it's really flexible. Wutong looked at Xiaoxia's flexible body and said to himself. Charizard fell to the side after being attacked by the dragon claws, but Charizard, who was angry, quickly got up and rushed towards Xiaoxia. In the air, Xiaoxia and Charizard exchanged dragon claws and fire punches. Neither of them was willing to give in. Even though Xiaoxia had the upper hand, Charizard still resolutely fought against Xiaoxia. Charizard, come on. Xiaoxia cheered for Charizard loudly. Strange, why do I feel more and more like a villain? Wutong looked at Charizard who was trying hard to persist, and then looked at Xiaoxia who was in good condition, and couldn't help saying, no, I can't go on. I always feel that Charizard will explode if I continue. Xiaoxia. Dragon Dive. Wutong intends to end the battle. Roar. Xiaoxia pulled back, and then his body was covered with blue-purple energy, and rushed towards Charizard with amazing momentum. Charizard still intends to fight hard. The flames on his fists are surging, and he punches with all his strength. Then, according to the second law of the Pokémon world, an explosion occurred. As the smoke from the explosion dissipated, Charizard fell to the ground and lost its ability to fight. Flame slowly flew back to Wutong. Charizard. Xiaoxia once again staged the parting of life and death drama. Please hurry up, I'm a bit in a hurry. Wutong couldn't help but say. Damn it, if that's the case, go. Beedrill. Xiaoxia released his last Pokémon. Beedrill? You are still with Xiaoxia? It's so touching. Looking at the good condition of Beedrill, Wutong shed tears of emotion. Frog and Flame are both on the field. Then, Turtle, this battle is up to you. Wutong said to the Blastoise behind him. Cam. Turtle nodded and walked into the battlefield. Beedrill. Missile Needle. Xiaoxia still chose to attack first. Beedrill's needle-like arms emitted light, and then shot out a large area of energy needles. Little Turtle, retract into the shell, and spin at high speed. Wutong chose the classic combo. Kami. Little turtle jumped up and retracted into the shell and then spun at high speed. The energy needles hit the high speed rotating shell and all bounced off. Water cannon. Wutong began to fight back. Little turtle maintained high speed rotation and the water column shot out from the shell. At this time, little turtle crashed into Beedrill like a gyroscope with equipment. Beedrill, move at high speed. Get out of the way. Xiaozhi shouted. Beedrill flashed, leaving an afterimage to avoid little turtle's attack. Good opportunity, Beedrill. Double needles. Xiaozhi continued to shout. Beedrill continued to move at high speed and appeared next to little turtle. Then the needle-like arm with cold light instantly pierced out. Little turtle, which was still spinning at high speed, stopped directly. How is this possible? Wutong said in surprise. At this time, one of Beedrill's needle-like arms pierced through the hole in Turtle's shell. Turtle fell directly to the ground and then emerged from the shell again, but the little turtle with its head exposed was foaming at the mouth and its eyes were in circles. Obviously it had lost its ability to fight. Wutong immediately looked at Beedrill's needle-like arm, and a little purple light could be vaguely seen at the tip. Obviously, Beedrill used poison attack and double needles together. What's going on? This unexpected ambush. Wutong's expression under the mask was a bit speechless. Originally, Wutong used a dirty routine to send away Pikachu, and then sent away Charizard before the explosion, thinking that the third battle would be easier, but he didn't expect an unexpected ambush. Wutong was sure that Xiaoxi didn't have it, and now he couldn't think of combining the two skills. In other words, this Beedrill's own choice. Could it be the offspring of Banmu's Beedrill? Question mark? Great, Beedrill. We won. Xiaoxi said happily when he saw that Turtle had lost his ability to fight. Come back, Turtle. Xiaoxi, I leave it to you. Wutong quickly regained his composure and exchanged Pokémon. Although he knew that some of his actions would produce a butterfly effect and change history, he didn't expect that the butterfly's wings would flap too hard. There was such a Beedrill in Xiaoxi's team. Did the screenwriter know that the hornworm was gifted and deliberately didn't let Xiaoxi capture it? While Wutong was thinking about it, Xiaoxi returned to the field. Beedrill, come on. Double needles. Xiaoxi instantly took a breath and continued to take the initiative. The double needles of the Beedrill flashed again and then rushed towards Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi, flash flame charge. Wutong said calmly. Roar. The flames covered Xiaoxi's body and Xiaoxi rushed towards the Beedrill. Xiaoxi and Beedrill collided in the air and there was another explosion for unknown reasons. After the smoke dissipated, the status of Xiaoxi and Beedrill appeared in front of everyone. Beedrill still had some sparks on its body at this time, and Xiaoxi actually grabbed one of Beedrill's needle-like arms with one claw. It's just a pity that Beedrill has two needle-like arms. Another needle pierced Xiaoxi's belly. Looking at the slightly purple color of the belly, Xiaoxi was poisoned as expected. The two Pokémon stalemate in the air for a moment, and then both fell to the ground and lost their combat ability. Wutong felt that this Beedrill would definitely become one of Xiaoxi's main forces in the future, but he didn't know if Xiaoxi could recall it to fight after changing regions. That Beedrill is very strong. Xiaoming said seriously. The last one is so lucky to have captured such a strong Beedrill. Xiaomei also had to admit the strength of this Beedrill. Shinji didn't say anything, but silently stared at Wutong in black armor. Damn, I lost again. Xiaoxi reluctantly put Beedrill back into the Pokeball. You are already very strong, but I'm still stronger now, so who is the next opponent? Wutong asked Mewtwo to take Turtle and Flame to treat them, and then looked at Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming. Of course it's me. Xiaoming volunteered to walk to the edge of the battlefield. Shinji and Xiaomei didn't stop him, obviously wanting to watch the show for a while. Xiaoxi went to treat Pikachu and the others. Go, Sandslash. Xiaoming called out his main force. In this case, Dream Demon, you go. Wutong thought about it and said to the Dream Demon beside him. Dream. After evolving, the Dream Demon's cry became more ethereal. Seeing the Dream Demon floating above the battlefield, Xiaoming was full of vigilance. Dream Demon, hypnosis. Wutong started with his daily hypnosis. Dream. The Dream Demon shouted and then disappeared directly on the spot. This fighting method Shinji felt more and more certain. Disappeared directly? No, it should be hypnosis. Xiaomei analyzed calmly. Chuanshan King, poison needle. Xiaoming commanded. Chuanshan King waved his two claws and shot purple energy needles indiscriminately around. But the poison needle did not attack the dream demon. When the dream demon appeared again, it was already in front of the Chuanshan King. The dream demon's eyes emitted blue light, and a wave of invisible waves was emitted. Chuanshan King's eyes began to circle, his body began to shake, and then he collapsed on the ground and fell asleep. Dream demon, strange light, black eyes, ghost fire, electromagnetic waves, curse. Wutong's negative state was maximum doubt. Cross King, wake up. Xiaoming knew that things were not going well and shouted hurriedly. Sure enough, what is this idiot doing? Shinji said irritably, holding his forehead. That person is Wutong, right? Xiaomei also saw it and said. After being disgusted by Wutong's dream demon, Xiaomei specifically learned about dream demons and naturally knew that dream demons were the evolution of dream demons. The flashing dream demon, the familiar fighting style, and the irresistible smile. This guy definitely has some special hobby. Xiaomei gritted his teeth and said. This guy will show this annoying smile when he uses dream demon hypnosis to disgust people. So, Playboy, do you have a way to break this situation? Shinji said to Xiaomei. Humph, of course, I'm ready. Gloomy face, it seems that you don't think there is a way. Xiaomei glanced at Shinji and said. Humph, I won't always lose in this way. Shinji said. After all, after living with Wutong for a while, Meng Yao, although a homebody, would occasionally participate in combat training on a whim. After 2 battles that were not really combat, Shinji began to look for a way to crack it. Meng Yaomo, the last blow, misfortunes never come alone. Wutong said as he looked at the Sand/King, whose negative status was almost stacked. Meng Yaomo called out, and a dark purple energy ball appeared on his head. Then the dark purple energy ball cracked a gap, and it turned directly into an eye with a blood-red pupil. The eye shot out a stream of energy and hit Sand/King. This guy must have something to do with Wutong. Xiaoming said, gritting his teeth. Just when Xiaoming thought he had no chance, a pink kitten-like Pokémon appeared in front of Sand/King. A blue translucent energy shield appeared, blocking Meng Yaomo's misfortunes never come alone. Myo, I want one too. Let's play. Meng Hun, who suddenly appeared, called out. Chapter 92. The old man was very angry, but he was still very angry. After seeing Mew couldn't help but release a momentum. Mew thought he had let it go, but when he saw Mew, he couldn't bear it anymore. At this time, Mew was eager to fight Mew, not to prove anything, but just to know how strong his so-called body was. Maybe this was also the influence of the days with Wutong, and the desire for battle was revealed. This is Mew? Xiaomao said in surprise when he saw Mew suddenly appear. As the grandson of Professor Oak, how could he not recognize Mew, the ancestor-level Pokémon that claimed to have all the Pokémon genes? Hey, what's wrong with this Pokémon? Although it helped Sansang to block a fatal blow, it's very rude to interfere with other people's battles. Xiaoming said dissatisfiedly. As a civilian trainer, Xiaoming obviously couldn't recognize Mew, but he just felt that this little pink cat looked a bit like the big pink cat next to Wutong. It feels like they can evolve. Hey, boss, even if you want to let it go, don't let your Pokémon directly intervene in the battle. Xiaoming shouted at Wutong. What are you talking about? Who is your boss? Wutong deliberately pinched his throat. It's a bit late to remember to change your voice now. And you like hypnotic tactics so much, and it's the evolution of Dream Demon, and it's shiny. Who else can it be but you? Xiaoming shouted. What a fool. Shinji on the sidelines said mercilessly. It's really a fool. Xiaomai also shook his head and said. Hey, you 3 are too much. Wutong shouted. This guy simply stopped pretending. X3 Shinji, Xiaomao and Xiaoming said in unison. Mayu? Why are you ignoring me? Mew shouted in dissatisfaction. Mew, go ahead, Mew should satisfy you. Wutong said to Mew. Mew nodded, then casually threw an energy bomb at Mew, and then disappeared directly beside Wutong. The energy bomb was just a casual throw by Mew, and it had no power, and the meaning of provocation was stronger. But for Mew, this was a signal that Mew wanted to play with it, so Mew also disappeared directly from the spot and chased Mew out. On the first floor, Xiaoxi came to the treatment room with Pikachu in his arms. At this time, all the defeated Pokémon clones were piled here for treatment. Pika. Seeing Xiaoxi coming in with Pikachu, the Pikachu clone waved his hand and said hello. Perhaps because of the change in Mewtwo's mentality, these cloned Pokémon did not show any resentment towards their original bodies. They only felt annoyed at losing the battle. Even though the original bodies were commanded by their trainers, these Pokémon affected by Mewtwo's current bellicosity were thinking about winning back sooner or later. You are all still here. Please help me treat my Pikachu and other Pokémon, Xiaoxi said. Pika the Pikachu clone called out, and a Jigglypuff came out slowly and took over the Pikachu, Charizard and Beedrill's Pokeballs from Xiaoxi's hands. Xiaoxi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw his Pokémon being taken for treatment. On the battlefield, Misty and Brock were still playing with their Pokémon and their clones, and the scene was very harmonious. The short-haired girl and the boy in the blue vest and thick bangs were sent out after their memories were erased because of their failure. In the hall next to them, Musashi Kajiro reunited with Meowth. Look, the little brat is taking Pikachu to the treatment room, Kajiro said to Xiaoxi in the treatment room. This is a good opportunity, Meow. We can take the opportunity to catch Pikachu, Meow. Meow said. But what about the copy of Pikachu? Kajiro asked. Stupid, of course it's important to catch Pikachu. A copy is a copy, how can it be compared with the original? Musashi said. Meow. Although Meow's copy likes to play badly, after hearing Musashi's words, he still raised his head and called out in confusion. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Musashi said when he saw Meow's copy looking at him. Meow. The Meow copy called out, and then a group of copies surrounded him. What's going on? Musashi couldn't help but say when he saw the Pokémon copies that suddenly surrounded them. These guys they don't look very happy. Kajiro said a little scared. It's all Musashi's fault, Meow. What you said made them angry, Meow. Meow shouted. Meow. Meow's clone waved its paw, as if to say goodbye. Then the Pokémon clones that surrounded the Rocket Trio attacked together. What a disgusting feeling. X3 the Rocket Trio was directly beaten away. I seemed to hear something just now. Xiaoxi, who was waiting, said in confusion. The perspective returned to the upstairs. After Mewtwo and Mew left, only Wutong, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming were left in the venue. The female Ghastly was too lazy to continue disguising and turned back into Ghastly. So, explain it. What's going on? Shinji asked. That's right, the organizer of this game turned out to be you. Do Grandpa Aquan and Grandma Ranzi know about this? Xiaomao directly brought up the elders. Do you know how worried we are about you? You are eating and drinking well here without taking us with you. Xiaoming also said dissatisfiedly. Huh. Shinji and Xiaomao both looked at Xiaoming with a puzzled voice. Well, I mean he didn't tell us that he was fine. Xiaoming quickly changed his words. Well, you all made a mistake. I just look like someone you know. Wutong continued to struggle. Do you know you are wearing a mask? Xiaoming said speechlessly. Gloomy face. Has he always been so stupid? Xiaomao turned to Shinji and asked. Playboy, why do you ask me about this? But he is like this when he occasionally has an attack. Shinji replied. My battle with him is not over yet. Please don't interrupt me. Wutong decided to change the subject. What should I do? This kid doesn't want to admit it. The three of them gathered together, and Xiaoming said. What else can I do? Xiaomao asked back. We are all Pokémon trainers. Do we need to talk about how to solve problems? What? You were hypnotized too, and your brain is not working well. Shinji said venomously. TSK, then come together? Xiaoming asked tentatively. Although it is not my style to bully the weak with the majority, I'm very interested this time. Xiaomao said. This is a punishment from heaven. Shinji said calmly. The guy who looks like Wutong, we discussed it. Do you want to fight alone, or in a group? Xiaoming said to Wutong. Wutong's eyes twitched under the mask. These three bastards, have they made up their minds to fight me together? Still fighting alone, or in a group? I fight them alone, or they fight me in a group. I choose to strike first. Dream Demon. Hypnosis. Wutong paused deliberately and shouted, "Dream." The Dream Demon appeared in front of Wutong and emitted waves of invisible waves. Nidoking. Noisy. X2 Shinji and Xiaomei shouted at the same time. The two chose the same way to deal with it. Nido. X2 two Nidokings appeared and roared to the sky. The two Nidokings kept roaring, and the noisy sound made people very irritated. But it was precisely this kind of irritation that made the people and Pokémon present all sleepless. Noisy as a general skill cannot cause damage to the Dream Demon, but Shinji and Xiaomei did not want to rely on this skill to cause damage at all, but only wanted to rely on the effect of this skill to resist the hypnosis of the Dream Demon. Damn, these guys are targeting me, Wutong couldn't help but say. Although the Dream Demon had evolved at this time, its hypnosis was still at the stage of making other Pokémon sleep, and it couldn't achieve the outrageous effect of Ghastly. So when the two Noisy were used together, the hypnosis of the Dream Demon directly lost its effect, which also meant that the Dream Demon lost at least half of its strength. Then let's start again in the third stage. Xiaoming had already seized the opportunity to feed the Zero Fruit to Sansang, and at the same time, called out a scarred and sturdy Arbok. But the rules need to be changed. Xiaomao continued and released the Blasto Eyes. You should have no problem fighting against the three of us at the same time, Lord Demon. Shinji deliberately emphasized the tone of Lord Demon, and the meaning of sarcasm was very obvious. Besides Shinji, the tortoise was also released. Mutwo, come back quickly, the Demon King is going to be bullied by the hero. Wutong looked at the three menacing people and the six ferocious Pokémon beside them, and swallowed his saliva, and muttered to himself. Chapter 93. The battle was over, and the enemy was in a mess. Outside the castle, Mutwo and Dream stood in the void, looking at each other from afar. Dream looked at Mutwo curiously. It could feel that the Pokémon in front of it had a deep connection with itself, although all the Pokémon in the world had some relationship with itself. Mutwo was too lazy to talk nonsense. At this time, it was full of fighting spirit and started a fierce attack directly. Seeing the energy bombs flying over, Dream dodged flexibly. Then Dream realized that the Pokémon on the opposite side must want to play dodgeball with itself. Then Dream, in the spirit of not returning the favor, also responded with a wave of barrage. This is interesting. Mutwo casually opened a barrier to block the attack, and muttered to himself. However, seeing what Mutwo did, Mutwo got angry. Dodgeball without dodging was completely cheating. So Mutwo's attack became more fierce. Mutwo no longer controlled himself, and began to use his power wantonly. Of course, it was aimed at Mutwo, otherwise the entire new island might not be able to withstand it. So Wutong's inner call could not be conveyed to Mutwo at all. Back in the castle, Wutong knew that he probably couldn't escape today, so he just gritted his teeth and started to resist. Little Turtle and Little Fire had recovered and returned to Wutong's back. At this time, Wutong's fighting force was the three little ones and the Dream Demon. If the Dream Demon's hypnosis was not targeted, Wutong was confident that he could disgust 6 people by himself. Isn't it just sleeping on the left side, sleeping on the right side, and then sleeping all the way on the right side? No, it seems to be a mess. Anyway, now that hypnosis has no effect, the Dream Demon's strength is directly reduced by more than half. Now it is really not enough for the 3 little ones and the Dream Demon to face the 3 guys on the opposite side. So if Mutwo is not there, the hope of surviving safely lies in. Wutong thought about it and looked at Ghastly, who was ready to watch the show. Wutong didn't say anything, but just made a yeah gesture to Ghastly. Ghastly shook his head. Wutong gritted his teeth and gave Ghastly a 5. Ghastly was a little moved. Wutong made a last-ditch effort and gave Ghastly 2 5s. Ghastly's eyes lit up. After a friendly exchange, Ghastly joined the battle. Ghastly came directly to the middle of the battlefield, facing the 6 Pokémon on the opposite side, and was ready to show what 1v6 was. Ghastly had no intention of being moral, and his eyes emitted light, and the hypnotic wave condensed into a substantial light and shot out. Noisy. X2 Shinji and Xiaomei shouted again at the same time. Nido. X2 the 2 Nidokings began to roar again. Hehe, it's really noisy, so if you're so noisy, just seal your mouths. Ghastly said and exploded into a cloud of smoke, and then 2 more muzzles appeared on the heads of the 2 Nidokings. The noisy sound stopped instantly. What? X2 Shinji and Xiaomei looked unbelievable. Shinji had seen Ghastly talking, and Xiaomei would not be surprised after seeing a talking Meowth. The problem is that you, Ghastly, turned into 2 muzzles. Is this reasonable? Sanslip, Xiaoming commanded Sanslip to rescue the 2 Nidokings. Hehe, to deal with mice, you have to use a mouse trap. Ghastly's voice sounded again. A line appeared between the 2 muzzles, and the heads of the 2 Nidokings collided with each other. Then there was another puff of smoke, and a huge mouse trap appeared, clamping towards Sanslip. Sanslip was startled. This was not practiced in the usual resistance training. Seeing that it was about to be clamped, Sanslip quickly began to run away. This hypnosis is too scary. Dream Demon, you must work hard. Wutong watched Ghastly tease Shinji, and Xiaomei and Xiaoming's Pokémon couldn't help but say, Dream. The Dream Demon turned around to show that it was just a cute home girl and had no interest in fighting. Okay, as long as you are happy. Wutong touched the Dream Demon's head and said, Blues, Water Cannon, Dode Turtle, Leaf Storm. Shinji and Xiaomei saw the opportunity and attacked at the same time. The strong water column plus the rotating leaves formed a tornado that was equivalent to wet leaves. Don't bother me, you guy. X2 Shinji and Xiaomei glared at each other and said, I always feel that this situation is a bit familiar. Wutong couldn't help saying as he looked at the 2 people who were fighting. In fact, if the 3 of them could cooperate well, Ghastly wouldn't be so easy. It's just that Ghastly's hypnosis was originally a bit outrageous. The 3 people didn't cooperate, so Ghastly successfully completed 1v6. I'm back, Wutong. Mewtwo suddenly appeared beside Wutong and said, Huh, you're back so soon. Wutong said a little surprised. That guy ran away. Mewtwo covered his forehead and said angrily, Run away. Wutong was even more surprised. That's right, that guy suddenly said it was meaningless and wanted to go somewhere else to play and then ran away. Mewtwo said with veins on his forehead. Wutong didn't know what to say for a moment. This really looks like something that Mew can do. Wutong looked at the very unhappy Mewtwo and didn't know how to comfort it. After thinking about it, he looked at Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming. Sacrifice for the greater good. Wutong thought secretly. Mewtwo, if that's the case, go and fight with the 3 of them. Remember to hold back, otherwise they will definitely not be able to stand it. Wutong said, Isn't it better to bully the weak when you are unhappy? Mewtwo looked at the situation on the field and nodded, then teleported directly to the middle of the battlefield. With full pressure, all the Pokémon fighting in the field stopped. Hehe, it seems that I have nothing to do. Come on. Ghastly said and floated back to Wutong's side. Call out all your Pokémon. Mewtwo's voice appeared in the minds of the 3 people. Shinji and Xiaomei, who were still arguing, stopped, and Xiaoming looked at Mewtwo, as if facing a great enemy. The 3 looked at each other, and then called out all their Pokémon. Even if they knew they couldn't beat them, they all had their own pride as Pokémon trainers. Wutong and Ghastly started eating melons on the spot. After all, the bullying game looked quite interesting. And Mewtwo obviously let go of the sea and fought back and forth with the 3 of them. It feels like a good opportunity to exercise. Ghastly, help me again. Wutong said to Ghastly on the side. Ghastly thought that he had already cheated Wutong of 10 playboys today, so he might as well do him a favor for free. You become what I'm now, and stay here for a while. I'll go and move around. Wutong said. Hehe, leave it to me. Ghastly said. Each person and Pokémon found a corner, and after a while, Ghastly disguised as black armor Wutong came out. Wutong changed back into his own outfit, circled around and emerged from behind Shinji and the others. Hey, my dear friend, it seems that you are in a tough battle. Wutong shouted. Vertical bar. X3 hearing this voice, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming all turned around with question marks on their faces. After seeing that it was Wutong, the 3 of them hurriedly looked in the direction of black armor Wutong. As a result, they found that the Wutong they thought was still standing there. How can I be absent from such an interesting battle? Everyone, come out. Wutong ignored the shocked 3 people and released all Swampert. 6 Pokémon, 5 pink and 1 silver, appeared and then rushed up skillfully to attack Mewtwo. Shinji and the other 3 also knew that this was not the time to ask questions, and they all tried their best to command their Pokémon to attack Mewtwo, while also avoiding accidentally hurting their teammates. The pressure on the 4 people was very high at this time. After all, they were all fledgling trainers, and commanding 6 Pokémon to fight at the same time was a great test of the trainer's quality. Where is that guy Xiaozhi? Why hasn't he come up yet? Wutong felt that if he wanted to put pressure on Mewtwo now, he needed the power of Xiaoxia and Pikachu. However, Xiaoxia and Pikachu were in the hall at this time, playing happily with a group of Pokémon clones. If Wutong knew, he would be speechless. Sure enough, there is no hope of victory at all. Wutong said helplessly as he looked at Mewtwo, who had never moved from beginning to end in the battlefield. As strong as a monster. Xiaoming continued. That's it. Xiaomao also knew that there was no chance. Then let's have the last blow, Shinji suggested. Wutong and the others agreed and commanded their Pokémon to fire at full force. Mewtwo calmly stretched out his hand, and layers of energy shields appeared to block the attacks of the 24 Pokémon. Then, Mewtwo waved his hand, and a pink energy ball appeared in the sky, and then a shower of energy meteors fell, and all the 24 Pokémon were smashed, and lost their combat ability. That's it, my son, Ghastly said when he saw the end of the battle. X for Wutong and the other 4 made puzzled sounds at the same time. Wutong, my dear son, I'm your long lost son's father, Ghastly said as he took off his mask, revealing a face that was about 70% similar to Wutong, but much older. What? Question mark? Wutong's father? Your father is the Demon King? Shinji, Xiaomao, and Xiaoming all looked at Wutong. Wutong's eyes twitched, and he bit his back teeth tightly. This old ghost is cheating me again. Don't joke. I'm an orphan, picked up by my grandparents. Where does my father come from? Wutong roared. Hearing Wutong's roar, Ghastly was stunned. He didn't expect Wutong to have such a background. The script he had planned could not go on all of a sudden. I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to have such a past. I shouldn't make such a joke, Gas said solemnly. Faced with Ghastly's sudden and solemn apology, Wutong didn't know what to do. In fact, Wutong didn't care about these things. After all, he was a reborn person, and his grandparents were very good to him. Xiaomao on the side had known about this for a long time, and Xiaoming also had a complicated expression. And Shinji had a calm face. After all, self-righteous sympathy was more hurtful. Back to the topic. You 4 are very strong, but not yet. But I'm very satisfied with today's battle, so please stay for dinner, Ghastly said, touching his face with his hand, and directly changed into another face. Wutong raised his eyebrows, playing Sichuan opera face changing here, right? After venting, Mewtwo felt much better. Although he habitually wanted to stand next to Wutong, he knew that he had to cooperate with Wutong in acting at this time, so he teleported behind Ghastly. By the way, I have helped you evolve your Dream Demon, which is also a reward for your help in taking care of these Pokémon during this period of time. Ghastly pointed at the Dream Demon and said, hey? Question mark? You mean it's my Dream Demon? Wutong pretended to be surprised and said, that's right, go back to your master. Garcis waved at the Dream Demon. The Dream Demon turned around twice and went directly into the shadow of Wutong. Seeing the Dream Demon go into the shadow of Wutong, Shinji, Xiaoming and Xiaomao all had complicated expressions, although they had already found a way to deal with the hypnosis of the Dream Demon. But they still felt that this guy was even more disgusting. After all, in addition to hypnosis, there were a lot of negative state skills. On the way to send their respective Pokémon for treatment, Shinji and Xiaoming also began to ask about Wutong's situation in the past few days. Wutong and Ghastly looked at each other, and the tacit understanding between humans and ghosts was instantly full. Others said human words to humans and ghost words to ghosts, but Wutong and Ghastly said human words and ghost words together, which was invincible. Wutong wanted to ask his grandparents for help, because the Pokémon of the castle owner had a little problem, but his grandparents didn't have time to come and gave this task to him, so they brought him in advance. At that time, Dragonite kidnapped him directly. Because the situation was urgent, there was no time to explain. At the same time, the problem of the evolution of the dream demon was also solved. Shinji and Xiaoming were skeptical, but there was no substantial evidence to refute it, so they still believed it honestly. In the evening, Wutong and Xiaogang worked together to make a very rich meal. After dinner, Wutong and Ghastly found an excuse to leave. Shinji and Xiaomei quarreled as usual, and it directly escalated to a full member battle. Xiaoxi saw that Shinji and Xiaomei started fighting, and directly invited Xiaoming to fight again. Xiaoming did not refuse. He was very curious about how strong that Pikachu had become. Xiaoxia and Xiaogang directly turned into referees, so no one paid attention to Wutong. When they came to the underground, the three little ones had returned to their bodies. At this time, the body in the petri dish had grown a lot, but it would take some time for it to move normally. Mutuo, what are you going to do next? Wutong asked Mutuo beside him. I don't know, but I want to protect my kind. Mutuo shook his head and said. Is that so? Haven't you found your own way? Wutong said with a smile. By the way, there are many mythical beasts in this world. They are all very strong. If you feel bored, go find them. Their strength will satisfy you. Knowing that Mutuo also likes the joy of fighting, because of his influence, he suggested. I'll consider it. Mutuo nodded and replied. There was silence between Wutong and Mutuo, and Ghastly didn't interrupt. Are you leaving tomorrow? Mutuo broke the silence first. Yes, I still have my dream, but we will definitely meet again, right? If you miss me and Xiaoyi, just come to me. Wutong replied calmly. Mutuo did not speak this time but nodded silently. I'll leave the three little ones to you. I'll come to see them when I'm done with my current affairs. Wutong continued. Don't worry, they are my family. Mutuo said. Wutong and Mutuo fell into silence again, but this silence was not awkward. Both of them looked at the three little ones calmly and enjoyed the peace at the moment. The next day, outside the castle, the sky had cleared up, and Ghastly still pretended to be the owner of the castle. Wutong and the others said goodbye to Ghastly together. Wutong thought about it for a night, and decided to keep the memories of several people. After leaving the new island, everyone returned to the port city. Where are you all going? Wutong asked first. Of course, we are going back to Pallet Town. Xiaoxi said as a matter of course. We are going to Pallet Town with Xiaoxi. Xiaoxia continued. I want to go back to Pallet Town too, but you can walk back slowly. Xiaomao just finished speaking when a convertible drove behind Xiaomao. Xiaomao's 6 female companions in the convertible came to pick him up. Xiaomao, sometimes you don't need to travel so fast. Wutong thought about it and said to Xiaomao, I'll consider it. After hearing Wutong's words, Xiaomao paused, waved his hand, got on the convertible and left. Every time he met Wutong, it was a blow, and Xiaomao began to reflect on whether his way of traveling was correct. What about you, Xiaoming? Wutong looked at Xiaoming and asked. Of course I'm going home. Xiaoming said as a matter of course. This guy wants to eat and drink every day without washing the dishes. Shinji revealed Xiaoming's plan. You, guy, just go with me and Shinji, otherwise don't come to eat. Wutong said. After hearing this, Xiaoming considered between washing the dishes and not eating. Let's go. Let's go home. Xiaoming chose to go with Shinji without hesitation. What was there to hesitate about? Hesitating for a second was disrespectful to the meal. After the three said goodbye to Xiaoxi and his group, they returned to the breeding house together 1 month before the opening of the Quartz Conference. Wutong, Shinji, and Xiaoming gathered together again and started working hard for the Quartz Conference. Chapter 94. After returning to his daily life, Wutong always felt as if he had forgotten something, but he couldn't remember what he had forgotten. He simply stopped thinking about it because it wouldn't be an important thing anyway. Cooking every day, training Pokémon, teasing Shinji, bullying Xiaoming. Life is so interesting. After a few days, it was another sunny morning. In the backyard of the breeding house, Wutong used the power of Changpan while massaging the wings of Crowhead. Crowhead, I finally don't have to be pressed today. However, behind a tree, Pidgeot humanely supported the tree with his wings, staring at Crowhead with sharp eyes. The crow leader who was enjoying Wutong's massage suddenly shuddered and then looked around vigilantly. Dangan King, Earth Fisher, Xiaoming shouted in command. Dote Turtle, Wooden Hammer. Shinji was not to be outdone. What a piece. Wutong couldn't help but sighed as he looked at the two people fighting. I don't know why, although it was a peaceful and harmonious scene, Wutong felt a little flustered. Suddenly the sky became cloudy, and Wutong was a little confused. The weather forecast in the morning was sunny. Thinking of this, Wutong raised his head. Fuck, a kind of plant. Wutong shouted the few plants he knew, and then collected all his Pokémon as quickly as possible. Hearing Wutong's voice, Shinji and Xiaoming couldn't help but raise their heads. The expressions of the two people became vertical bar. Wutong finally remembered what he had forgotten. He had promised the giant Dragonite to help it find its kind. As a result, he had been traveling for almost a year and had forgotten about this matter. Now the giant Dragonite came to find him. Although the giant Dragonite is not as strong as Mewtwo, the deterrence brought by this size is far greater than Mewtwo. Otherwise, a person with Shinji's personality would not have become like vertical bar. Wu the giant Dragonite landed carefully and called to Wutong. Hi, long time no see. Wutong just greeted. The giant Dragonite grabbed Wutong with its incredible speed for its size. Then the giant Dragonite flapped its two small wings and flew away directly. Shinji, Wutong was caught by Dragonite again. Xiaoming said. Shinji covered his face and didn't know what to say. Are we still going to save him? Xiaoming continued to ask. Save a ghost? We are not enough for that Dragonite to swallow in one bite, and Wutong obviously knows it. Just train with peace of mind. This guy's strength will increase every time he encounters trouble. He was not captured, but was obviously taken for special training. Shinji rarely said a long string of words, and then continued to train his Pokémon. Xiaoming thought about it, and it seemed so he continued to train. As for Wutong, I wish him well. Miss Dragonite, don't you know where we are going? Wutong shouted loudly in the hand of the giant Dragonite. Wu the giant Dragonite shouted. Wutong felt that there was no anger in the shouting of the giant Dragonite, but a little happy. Are you saying that you feel the breath of your own kind? But you can't find the right position, so you come to me? Wutong asked. Wu. Dragonite nodded immediately. Is that so? Wutong rubbed his chin and began to think. The giant Dragonite felt the breath of its own kind. Then it means that Xiaoxi should have triggered the plot of the ancient Pokémon. The ancient Pokémon has even been released and started fighting. In that case, let's go. Rotom, locate Mount Portoro. Wutong said. Got it. Rotom. The voice of Rotom's mobile phone came from Wutong's pocket. Then, let's go. I also want to see the battle of the ancient Pokémon. After Wutong said this, the giant Dragonite stuffed him into the palm of his hand, and then the speed increased again. Chapter 95. The new battle in the water field is about to begin. The two sides are Wutong from Changpan City and Xiaoyang from Hanglian Town. Wutong walked into the arena with the host's passionate commentary. The water field is a huge pool with several round white floating boards as the footholds of Pokémon. Wutong stood on the contestants' competition platform and looked across. A short-haired girl stood there with an unhappy face. The obvious resentment seemed to have materialized, making the girl look like she was emitting black flames. The hair on both sides was slightly upturned because of the blazing black flames, like the horns of a demon. Wow, so scary. I should have never seen her. Why is there so much resentment? Wutong couldn't help but say as he looked at the girl opposite. Both players are ready. Please send out your Pokémon. The referee said. However, it is not difficult to see that he has already imagined a big emotional drama by looking at his eyes darting back and forth between the two. Waterfield, Swampert, leave it to you. Wutong thought about it, and it seemed that Swampert was the most low-key among his Pokémon. After all, it is a Pokémon from other regions. Even if there are people from other regions participating in the Quartz Conference, the chance of being a shining one is relatively small. And the water field is also suitable for it to play. Swampert showed off his muscles, then dived into the water, with only his head exposed above the water. Wutong sent out his Pokémon first. This Pokémon doesn't seem to be a Pokémon from the Kanto region. the host said, after seeing Wutong's Pokémon. Go, Florian. Xiaoyang sent out his first Pokémon with a face full of resentment. The Florian that was sent out jumped carefully onto a white floating board. Seeing that there was water all around, Florian must be in a complicated mood. Oh. Xiaoyang chose the fire type Pokémon Florian, which is incompatible with the water field. Is there any special tactics? The host continued to explain passionately. After hearing the host's words, Xiaoyang's resentment deepened. Flamian. Jet flames. As if he couldn't stand the host's explanation, Xiaoyang took the lead in launching an attack. Bob Florian opened his mouth and shot a flame at Swampert. Swampert saw the flame coming and went into the water directly. Florian's flame obviously had not reached the point where it could burn in water. When it encountered water, it disappeared without even steam. Damn it. Florian. High speed star. Xiaoyang shouted irritably. Bob Florian jumped high, and a star-shaped energy shot out and shot directly into the water. Swampert. Water wave. Wutong shouted loudly. After all, he didn't know if Swampert in the water could hear his command. As soon as Wutong finished speaking, the originally calm surface began to ripple. Then violent waves began to appear, and the white floating board, where Florian was located, began to shake constantly. Florian was so scared that he quickly grabbed the floating board with his 4 little claws to prevent it from falling into the water. All the high-speed stars that were released into the water before were crushed by the violent waves. Flamian's strong attack is useless. Wutong easily cracked it. The host shouted excitedly. It seems that Swampert is a little excited. Wutong said uncertainly. Swampert. Falling rocks. Wutong continued to shout at Florian, who was temporarily unable to move. Flamian. Move. Xiaoyang knew that he couldn't stay where he was, and he had to move, even if there were not many footholds. Florian heard the command, and started jumping between the white floating boards. At this time, Swampert's pink head floated out of the water, and looked at Florian jumping non-stop with an expression full of wisdom. It stretched a claw out of the water, and a stone of the right size appeared in its claws, and then threw it out at the moment Florian jumped up. This kind of use of falling rocks is really rare. Although there are Pokémon who like to throw falling rocks by their own power, most of them choose to release falling rocks directly on the opponent's head. The host continued to explain. Florian, who had just jumped, heard a sound of breaking wind, followed by a huge pain in the abdomen. Florian began to fall painfully, and was about to fall into the water. Flamian. Xiaoyang saw this, and Jing quickly took out the Pokéball, and collected it before Florian fell into the water. The referee on the sidelines raised the red flag in his hand, and waved it in the direction of Xiaoyang. The referee ruled that Florian had lost its ability to fight, and Wutong won first. The referee shouted loudly. Damn it, why is it the water venue? Why is the first venue the water venue? Xiaoyang looked at the pool in front of him with resentment, and then looked at Wutong. Wutong shuddered at the resentful look of the girl opposite him. The girl's resentment should not be underestimated. There is no way. Go. Charmeleon. Xiaoyang sent out the next Pokémon helplessly. Roar. Charmeleon shouted with full energy while standing on the white floating board. Oh. It's Charmeleon. But Xiaoyang sent out another fire-type Pokémon. What kind of tactics is this? The host explained passionately. Is it possible that she specializes in fire? Wutong said helplessly after hearing what the host said. He now understood why the girl on the other side was so resentful. He should have thought of it long ago. After all, she was a trainer from Hanglian Town. In the Kanto region, the city where she was born also determined the trainer's preference for Pokémon to a certain extent. A Pokémon trainer who specializes in fire drew the water field in the first game. There are not many fire Pokémon in the Kanto region. Even if the fire Pokémon in the neighboring Chengdu region are included, there are only a few of them. Among these fire Pokémon, the only one that can fight normally in the water field is probably Liaopeng. However, when he saw the opponent sent Charmeleon, he knew why the opponent was so resentful. It is estimated that this Charmeleon will also evolve soon. If the water field is drawn later, this girl named Xiaoyang will not have no chance to advance. As a result, the first game is the water field. She can't bet that Charmeleon can evolve in the battle, right? It can only be said that luck is also a part of strength. Swampert, water wave, make the water move. Wutong said coldly. After all, it was a competition, and he had no room to pity his opponent. Lag. Swampert screamed and dived into the water again, and then the water surface began to fluctuate violently again. Charmeleon kept shaking his body in order to avoid falling on the white floating board. Damn it. You are too cowardly. You have such a big advantage and still use such a despicable way of fighting. Xiaoxia shouted angrily. This is a tactic, Swampert. Surf. Wutong shouted without wavering. When the fluctuations on the water surface reached the peak, a huge wave appeared and hit Charmeleon directly. Charmeleon, come back. I give up. Xiaoxia saw the huge wave and reluctantly took out the Pokeball to take back Charmeleon, and then happily gave up. There was no way to fight at all. Instead of being tortured, it was better to be decisive. Xiaoxia has given up. It seems that Wutong is very lucky. Let us congratulate Wutong for advancing. The host announced the result loudly. This host really doesn't know how to speak. Wutong frowned and looked at the studio where the host was and muttered to himself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96. After the game, Wutong returned to the waiting room of the players in the Quartz Stadium. Boss, you are really merciless, Xiaoming teased when he saw Wutong coming back. Xiaoming and Shinji hadn't started the game yet, so they saw Wutong's battle in its entirety. Although they were all battles in the water venue, the order of the three was different. This is a competition, and besides, it can only be said that the opponent was unlucky. Wutong said indifferently. I thought you could reveal something, but I didn't expect you to be so lucky. Shinji looked at Wutong and said. TSK, luck is also part of strength, Wutong said indifferently. After all, the Quartz Conference has just started, and Wutong has always felt that the first 4 games in different venues are for a screening. Of course, a Pokémon trainer must be able to deal with battles in various environments. The 4 attribute venues at the beginning are a threshold. If you can't even pass these 4 levels, what kind of trainer is it? Wrong. After all, those gym leaders who specialize in one system, kings, champions, etc., do you really think that they will have no way out when they encounter opponents who restrain their own attributes? Believe it or not, you can transform into a master of reverse attributes in a minute. After the 3 chatted for a while, it was Shinji and Xiaoming's turn. There was no surprise. Shinji and Xiaoming also successfully passed the first battle. You can't make it to the end just by luck, Xiaomei said to Wutong while drinking coffee in the restaurant of the players' village. What's wrong with this person? Do you know him? Did you sit in the wrong seat? Wutong said to Shinji and Xiaoming. I haven't seen him, but he looks like a narcissistic playboy, Shinji said mercilessly. It looks like he was abandoned by his girlfriend and came to seek comfort, Xiaoming said after taking a sip of coffee, imitating Xiaomei's appearance. That's enough for the 3 of you. Xiaomao choked on his coffee. So where are your girlfriends? Wutong asked. They went shopping. Xiaomao apologized with a complicated look. By the way, did you watch Xiaozhi's first battle? Wutong asked. I did, but that last place battle is really not worth referring to, Xiaomao said, thinking of Xiaozhi's 3-in-a-row giant crab. Shinji also thought of Xiaozhi. For some reason, he always felt that Xiaozhi and him were at odds. Hahaha, Xiaozhi does always do something unexpected, Xiaoming said with a smile. The 4 of them spent the night together. The next morning, Wutong stood on the field of the Quartz Stadium again. But this time the battlefield was not a pool, but a field covered with solid ice and many ice cubes. The 3rd battle of the ice arena is about to begin. The 2 sides are Wutong from Viridian City and Atta from Yuhang City, the host said. Swampert, go ahead, I leave it to you. Wutong called out Swampert without hesitation. Lagu. Swampert, who appeared, shouted and began to show his muscles. Is it really this Pokémon? Go, Venusaur. Opposite Wutong, a boy in a casual suit, sent out his Pokémon. There is no advantage in attributes. Swampert, Rock Slide. Wutong commanded. Lagu. Swampert raised his arms and a huge rock appeared. Venusaur, Leaf Blade. Atu chose to confront head on. Venusaur swung the two leaves on its body, and waves of rotating leaves shot at Swampert. Swampert's arms bulged with muscles, and he suddenly exerted force, and threw the boulders out. The boulder hit Venusaur with the flying rotating leaves. Venusflower, get out of the way. Atu shouted when he saw that the flying leaf knife failed to cut the boulder. Venusflower twisted its body and jumped to the side, but its speed was average, and it barely avoided the rockfall. Swampert, charge. Arm hammer. Wutong continued to command. Venusflower. Vine whip. Atu wanted to stop Swampert from approaching, so he commanded. Venusflower stretched out vine whips on both sides of its body and tied them directly to Swampert. Swampert had no intention of dodging at all, and its arms flashed with light in front of it. Venusflower directly controlled the vine whip to entangle Swampert's two arms and tried to lift it up. Too naive, Swampert. Let it see what power is, Wutong said. Swampert directly grabbed the vine whip with his backhand, and then he started to use force. At first, Atu thought that the entangled Swampert should be thrown away. As a result, he found that the scene on the field was not quite what he imagined. Swampert waved his arms, and Venusaur was thrown up directly. Venusaur. Leaf Blade. Atu wanted to break the situation. However, Venusaur, which had been thrown out of the afterimage, had no energy to use skills, and could only be slaughtered. Atu saw that his Pokémon did not react and knew that things were not good, so he wanted to take Venusaur back. As a result, the Venusaur that was thrown around could not be locked at all, and Atu had no way to take it back to the Pokéball. As Swampert swung faster and faster, Venusaur spun in circles at high speed. Then Swampert seemed to be tired of it and smashed it down with force. With a bang, ice chips flew. Venusaur directly smashed a piece of ice, and its eyes turned into circles, and it was paralyzed there, losing its ability to fight. What a terrible strange power. Atu's Venusaur can be said to have pitted himself. The host was amazed. The first battle at the Wutong ice field was easily won. Chapter 97. The old man was very angry, but he was still alive. Palast, go. Atu looked a little unhappy and called out his second Pokémon. Palast? It's a scary Pokémon, Wutong said to himself as he looked at the second Pokémon opposite. Of course, the scary thing, Wutong said, was not because of how strong Palast was, but because of Palast's biological characteristics. According to research, the part of Palast's insect is constantly absorbed by the mushrooms on its back, so that it is no longer a bug, but a mushroom that has consciousness. Simply put, Palast is already a bug whose actions are controlled by mushrooms, which makes people feel scared just thinking about it. Swampert, be careful, try not to touch that mushroom, you might be parasitized and lose consciousness and let a mushroom control your body, Wutong said to Swampert in a low voice. Largette. Swampert was startled after hearing Wutong's words, and then looked at Perist on the opposite side with a vigilant face. Perist, paralysis powder. Although he didn't know why the pink muscle monster on the opposite side suddenly looked vigilant, Atu thought it was a good opportunity and immediately let Perist launch an attack. Perist's body trembled, and a large amount of orange-yellow powder flew towards Swampert. Swampert, surf, Wutong said calmly. Larger. Swampert roared, and a wave of water appeared from under Swampert, carrying Swampert directly to Perist on the opposite side. The orange-yellow powder was directly swallowed by the water wave, but a large amount of orange-yellow powder made the water blue also appear orange-yellow. Swampert, come down, Wutong shouted hurriedly. Lagu? Swampert didn't know why, but he still jumped back to Wutong obediently. The orange-yellow water splashed all over Perist. Because of the attribute, Perist didn't have much reaction, and even became more active, but then a trace of electric current appeared on Perist. It's amazing. The paralysis powder released by Perist was actually hit back by Swampert's surf, causing Perist himself to fall into a paralyzed state. The host said in surprise. Damn it. Perist ultimate absorption. Atu shouted hurriedly. Perist heard the command and rushed directly to Swampert. Swampert, rock collapse. Wutong commanded. Lagu. Swampert obviously believed Wutong's words and didn't want Paris to get close to him at all. Swampert didn't even know that he had created a boulder in the void and directly lifted the giant ice block next to him and threw it out. Is this considered an ice attack? Wutong said to himself. Paris' speed made it impossible for it to dodge the giant ice block, and it was hit directly from the front. Paris, come out! Atu shouted anxiously. Swampert, another rockfall. Wutong did not let go of Paris' idea and continued to command. Paris tried hard to resume normal actions, but a huge rock fell and buried Paris tightly. Paris. Atu called his Pokémon, but Paris did not respond to him. Paris has lost the ability to fight. The referee waited for a moment and raised the flag and waved it. As the referee's voice fell, the giant ice block shattered directly, revealing Paris who had lost consciousness underneath. Atu looked at Paris and looked desperate. Looking at the Swampert on the opposite side who was fine, Atu gritted his teeth and took out a Pokeball. Beauty, please. Atu shouted loudly. A beauty appeared in the battlefield. As soon as it appeared, Meliodas spun in a circle with full energy, and then its body trembled. After looking at the surrounding environment, Meliodas shuddered again, and then bent down and knocked on the thick ice surface, as if she didn't believe it. Atu saw the state of Meliodas and became depressed. After knocking on the thick ice surface, Meliodas finally determined the environment she was in, and her face instantly became aggrieved. Then, under the gaze of the audience, she ran back to Atu and jumped into Atu's arms with a wronged face. Alas, it really doesn't work. Referee, I give up. Atu said helplessly. Meliodas is his strongest Pokémon, but its Meliodas also has a fatal weakness, which is extremely afraid of cold. So Atu didn't at the beginning. He called out the beauty flower because he was afraid that it would not be able to fight. Unexpectedly, Wutong's Swampert was so strong that he could defeat 2 enemies in a row. His only hope was that his strongest beauty flower could help him defeat 3 enemies in a row. In the end, he could not even fight, let alone defeat 3 enemies in a row. Atu surrendered. It seems that it was caused by not adapting to the venue. Wutong completed 3 enemies in a row again. I have to sigh that Wutong's luck is really good. The host said loudly. TSK, this host is really bad at talking. Wutong frowned and said. But he didn't care much and went back to the waiting room for the players. After the battle between Shinji and Xiaoming was over, the 3 of them went back to the players' village. But when they were having dinner in the evening, Wutong was inevitably teased by Shinji and Xiaoming. Both of them began to suspect that Wutong had taken the back door, and the 2 opponents he met were almost like being recommended. Wutong said helplessly that it was all coincidence, and he would definitely meet a strong opponent tomorrow. The next day, Wutong was drawn to compete in the grass field. This was a very ordinary field, no different from fighting in the wild forest. Wutong didn't believe that anyone would give up because of the field. He could finally prove his strength. Although it was not bad to make it to the finals, Wutong still wanted to have a few hearty battles. Soon, it was time for Wutong to compete. The first game of the grass field is about to begin. The 2 sides are Wutong from Viridian City and Nina from Cerulean City. The host shouted. Cerulean City? That should be a Pokémon trainer specializing in water attributes. But it doesn't matter, go. Swampert. Wutong started with his daily Swampert. Rag. Swampert appeared in the battlefield and began to show his muscles. Come out, Gyarados. Nina also sent out her first Pokémon. Gyarados, Swampert, it seems that you can finally stretch your muscles. Go up and show it your strength. Arm Hammer. Although Gyarados has double resistance to fighting, Wutong doesn't care too much. It's just a greeting. After all, close combat is the most suitable fighting method for Swampert. Larger. Hearing Wutong's command, Swampert excitedly rushed up. What a reckless guy. Gyarados, Dragon's Fury. Nina commanded. Roar. Gyarados roared and a blue-white beam of light shot at Swampert. Dodge. Keep rushing. Wutong commanded. Swampert exerted force on his limbs and began to bounce on the grass, avoiding Gyarados' Dragon's Fury attack. Soon Swampert rushed to Gyarados, and his arm emitted light and punched Gyarados on the head. Roar. Gyarados roared in pain after being hit on the head by Swampert. Gyarados, make a scene. Nina commanded calmly. A red light flashed in Gyarados' eyes, and then he began to attack Swampert frantically. Gyarados was completely crazy, using both head and tail to attack without any rules. Swampert, double back. Wutong also fought back fearlessly. Swampert was covered with a layer of rainbow light. If you want a bite, I will punch you back. If you hit me with your tail, I will kick you. The two Pokémon started the most primitive battle. This is really a crazy battle. The Pokémon of the two contestants are fighting in the craziest way. It seems that the winner will appear after the fight, said the host. Wutong and Nina tacitly did not command anything. Nina said it was because it was completely unnecessary. After all, Gyarados had fallen into absolute madness. Wutong wanted to let Swampert vent his anger. After all, Swampert had no experience in the previous battles. The crazy attack between the two Pokémon ended quickly, and Swampert and Gyarados stopped in tacit understanding. The two Pokémon were very close, and they all stared at each other. Soon, Gyarados couldn't stand it anymore and fell down. Swampert's body shook and stood up again, then gasped for breath. Gyarados has lost its ability to fight. The referee raised the flag and said, "Well done, Swampert." Wutong said encouragingly. After all, although he didn't learn any skills after various trainings, Swampert's body has been made extremely solid. Seeing Swampert return to his front, Wutong looked at Nina expectantly. After all, the quality shown by Gyarados proved that Nina should be a strong enemy. I give up. However, Wutong was too happy too early, and Nina did not call out the next Pokémon instead. Benny gave up directly. What? Nina chose to give up. What's going on? Could it be that Wutong's luck has already affected people's will? The host said in disbelief. Why do you want to give up? Wutong shouted in confusion. Hearing Wutong's shout, Nina showed a helpless look. Then, under Wutong's gaze, Nina released 5 lively and sturdy Magikarp. Wutong's eyes began to twitch. What's wrong with this person? So she is not specialized in water Pokémon, but Gyarados, right? The point is that this person has evolved a Gyarados. Wutong felt that the fact that he had taken the back door seemed to be confirmed by Xiaoming and Xingji. Chapter 98. The more you go, the more you will lose. Bibi Bird, a flash of lightning. Lily chose to take the initiative. Forget it, Crowhead, take off with the wind, and the bird will strike. Wutong shouted loudly. Bibi Bad turned into a white light and rushed towards Crowhead. The airflow on Crowhead accelerated and then took off at high speed. Bibi Bird obviously didn't want to let Crowhead go, so it turned a big corner and chased after it. Although Crowhead was already very fast, it still couldn't compare with a flash of lightning, so Bibi Bird chased closer and closer. Just as Pidgeot was about to hit Crowhead, Crowhead was covered with orange-yellow light and turned around and fell. Crowhead and Pidgeot collided with each other, and the white light on Pidgeot instantly dissipated. The orange-yellow light on Crowhead dimmed a little, but he still fell with Pidgeot. Pidgeot was directly put into the ground and cried out in pain. Crowhead was covered by black mist and hit Pidgeot again without waiting for Wutong's command. After this attack, Pidgeot directly lost its combat ability. Is this malicious pursuit? How deep is Crowhead's resentment? Wutong said speechlessly. Pidgeot has lost its combat ability. The referee waved the small flag in his hand and said, "Gap." Crowhead cried out again excitedly, and his attack power increased again. It's no use. Come back, Pidgeot, come out, Bulbasaur. Lily seemed to have seen her own end, but she was still ready to fight to the end. Bulbasaur, Flying Leaf Blade. Lily took the lead again and commanded. Bulbasaur leaned down slightly, aimed the flower bud on its back at Crowhead, and a series of rotating blades shot out. Crowhead, the wind rises. Wutong said calmly. Gap. Crowhead flapped its wings, and a storm rolled towards Bulbasaur. The flying rotating leaves were blown away by the storm, and the wind continued to roll towards Bulbasaur without stopping. Bulbasaur, Vine Whip. Lily was not ready to give up, and continued to find a way to solve the current situation. 2 vines grew on both sides of the flower bud on the back of Bulbasaur, and whipped towards Crowhead. The twitching vines broke the wind of Crowhead, and continued to whip towards Crowhead. Crowhead, swallow return. Wutong commanded. Gap. Crowhead started to rise directly into the air and then made a U-turn, bringing a burst of white light to rush towards Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur, stop it with a vine whip, then use the solar beam. Lily tried a last-ditch effort. Bulbasaur obediently used the vine whip to wrap around Crowhead, and at the same time, the flower bud on its back began to absorb the power of the sun. Crowhead flexibly turned his body to avoid Bulbasaur's vine whip and rushed towards Bulbasaur at a very fast speed. Perhaps because of the clear weather, Bulbasaur's solar beam gathered power very quickly and shot out before being attacked by Crowhead's swallow return. Crowhead brave bird attack. Wutong shouted directly. Gap. Crowhead cried, and the bird's beak emitted light, and then the light instantly spread throughout the body, turning Crowhead into an energy giant bird again. Crowhead's swallow return had not yet ended, and a white light band was left behind the energy giant bird. The energy bird and the solar beam collided with each other, and a dazzling light appeared on the field in an instant. As the light faded, the people on the field took a while to resume their work. I should have worn sunglasses earlier. How could I play the game with flashes? Wutong rubbed his eyes and said to himself. Bulbasaur has lost its ability to fight. The winner is Wutong from Pallet Town. The referee looked at the situation on the field and announced loudly. At this time, in the battlefield, Bulbasaur has turned upside down, and his eyes have become circles. Crowhead couldn't fly in the air and fell to the ground like a chicken. The winner has appeared. Wutong from Tokiwa City has completed a series of 3 again. This time it is not because of luck, but relying on strength to complete the feat of a series of 3. Let us thank Wutong for bringing us a wonderful game. The host said passionately. In the waiting room for the players, Shinji and Xiaomei looked at the screen together. At this time, although the two people looked different, they were thinking the same thing. Both of them decided that they must not let Crow Leader become overconfident after meeting Wutong. Crow Leader's speed was already annoying. After the letter was over-triggered, the attack power of the Crowhead became very tricky. Let's take a break. The second game of 16 to 8 will start soon. The host announced the break. Wutong took back the Crowhead and came to the players' waiting room. Hey, how about it? Are you shocked by my strength? Wutong saw Shinji and Xiaomei after entering the players' waiting room. Although Xiaoming can also enter the players' waiting room as a companion, that guy said he wanted to experience it in the audience. So he went to find Xiaogang and Xiaoxia. Anyway, they are familiar with each other, and there will be no embarrassing situation. It's okay. Shinji said perfunctorily. Although your Crowhead is very good, I will still win in the end. Xiaomei still said with confidence GSK, the next game is you. Are you ready? Wutong said helplessly. Of course, the victory must belong to my uncle Xiaomei. Xiaomei pointed at himself with his thumb and said, it's just a playboy, what's there to prepare for? Shinji said disdainfully. Humph, you're still so stubborn. Xiaomei said with a sidelong glance at Shinji. I'm just telling the truth. Shinji still showed no weakness. Seeing that the two guys seemed to be arguing again, Wutong shook his head helplessly. He was too lazy to care at this time. Anyway, the two were about to compete, so he just treated it as a pre-match trash talk session. Chapter 99. The two of them were in a mess. Letting Shinji and Xiaomei continue to trash talk each other, Wutong left the waiting room and prepared to go to the audience to look for Xiaoming and the others. Speaking of which, because they were worried about the 3 little ones, Ghastly and Xiaoai were temporarily staying with Mutuo, and they didn't know what was going on now. Although the Pokémon Encyclopedia, as the carrier of Xiaoai, was not with Wutong at Mutuo, not everyone has a Pokémon Encyclopedia. So it didn't affect Wutong's registration, but Shinji was suspicious of the fact that Wutong didn't register directly with the Pokémon Encyclopedia when registering, but filled in various information. Wutong made a pretext that he forgot to bring it with him, but it wasn't a big problem, so Shinji didn't care. After searching for a while in the audience, Wutong found Xiaoming, Xiaoxia and Xiaogang. Because they had greeted each other in advance, the 3 of them reserved a seat for Wutong. Not bad, boss, you won very cleanly, Xiaoming said when he saw Wutong coming. Of course, the champion must be Uncle Wutong. Wutong said like Xiaomei. Boss, Xiaoxia said puzzledly. Does Wutong have his own business? Xiaogang asked curiously. No, we were just joking. Wutong waved his hand. He was just an ordinary third generation rich man. Okay, the break is over. Let's start the second round of 16 to 8 today. Now please invite the players from both sides to enter. The host's voice appeared. At this time, in the battlefield, the referee had already taken his position and stood in the middle of the edge of the field. First, the player entering from the left is Xiaomao from Pallet Town. At the same time, he is also the grandson of Professor Oak, and his own strength is also outstanding. Let us look forward to his excellent battle. The host began to introduce. Next, the player entering from the right is Shinji from the Sinnoh region. His calm fighting style has always been very exciting. I believe this will be a wonderful battle. The host continued to introduce Shinji, grandson of Professor Oak. It's really a burdensome title. Xiaomao muttered to himself after hearing the host's introduction. After walking onto the battlefield. Playboy, the game is about to start, and you still have this expression. Are you ready to surrender? Shinji said when he saw Xiaomao standing opposite him with a somewhat dull expression. Huh? What is the gloomy monster talking about? You should think about what you will do if you lose. Xiaomao immediately refuted after hearing what Shinji said. Both players are ready. The game begins. The referee waved the flag in his hand and said, "Go, my baby." Xiaomao kissed the Pokeball in his hand and threw it out. Argyle, get ready for battle. Shinji looked a little ordinary and threw the Pokeball with a cold face. After 2 white lights, 2 Argyle appeared in the battlefield. Why did these 2 guys call Argyle out? Xiaoming asked curiously. I guess they both wanted to predict the other's prediction, and then they thought about it and confused their own prediction, so they chose Argyle in the end. Wutong guessed. Do you think I understand? Xiaoming looked at Wutong and said helplessly. Argyle. Super speed. X2 Shinji and Xiaomao were stunned when they saw that the other side also sent out Argyle and then commanded at the same time. A woo. X to the 2 Argyle let out a long howl at the same time and rushed towards each other with a residual shadow. In an instant, waves of dog shadows were left on the field, accompanied by a dog barking. Arcane. Flame wheel. X2 Shinji and Xiaomao saw that the field was in a stalemate and chose to change their tactics. TSK. It's a pity that they don't play doubles with such tacit understanding. Wutong said. The 2 Arcane stopped their speed, and their bodies were instantly covered with flames, and rushed towards each other. Bang! With a muffled sound, the 2 Arcane collided with each other. The 2 Arcane, which were very close, chose the most primitive way of fighting, and began to bite each other. The skill pools and physical fitness of the 2 Arcane are similar, so it is difficult to tell the winner. Wutong said as he watched the battle on the field. Indeed, Xiaomao's training technology is really good. Although his arcane is not as strong as Shinji's arcane, it is more coordinated. Xiaoming continued Wutong's words. After all, Shinji is in Wutong's having lived in the village for a long time. Wutong is not a stingy person. Basically, whatever his Pokémon eats, Shinji's Pokémon will eat it. Of course, those energy cubes specially made for his Pokémon are also distributed to Shinji and Xiaoming's Pokémon according to their attributes. Although the effect is not as good as Wutong's Pokémon, it is also a top level energy cube. After a period of time, Shinji and Xiaoming's Pokémon have become much stronger. Then it depends on which of them chooses to change their tactics first. Xiaogang is also a Gemona. Although his strength may be lacking, his vision is definitely enough. Arcane. Raw. X2 Shinji and Xiaomao also noticed the situation on the field, but the tacit understanding between the two was really good, and they shouted again at the same time. Woof. X to the 2 Arcane jumped back at the same time, and then let out a roar. Ripples appeared faintly in the air, and the 2 Arcane turned into a burst of red light, and returned to their respective Pokeballs. Then, a Pokeball on Shinji and Xiaomao's waist opened and released a Pokémon. Nido. X to the same roar appeared on the field, and the Pokémon that were forcibly exchanged by the roar on both sides turned out to be Nidoking. A very rare situation has occurred. 2 players chose to use the roar at the same time, and the Pokémon that came out of the roar turned out to be Nidoking. The host shouted in surprise. Chapter 100. The 2 of them were very close. Why do you, a gloomy monster, like to learn from others? Xiaomao shouted at Shinji. Narcissistic playboy, you have such a good self-image. Shinji said without hesitation. Nido. Xiaomao's Nidoking flashed a red light in his eyes after seeing Shinji's Nidoking, and then he roared to the sky. If I remember correctly, Xiaomao's Nidoking seems to have the fighting spirit characteristic. Wutong said as he looked at Xiaomao's Nidoking, who had become full of fighting spirit. Fighting spirit? Then wouldn't Shinji's Nidoking be at a disadvantage? Xiaoming said. Not necessarily. The characteristic of Shinji's Nidoking is forced. If the skill is chosen well, the outcome is still unknown. Wutong shook his head and said. Nidoking. Gather energy. Xiaomao commanded. Nido. Xiaomao's Nidoking took a deep breath after hearing the command, and his mind became highly concentrated. Nidoking. Roar. Poison spikes. However, Shinji's choice was beyond people's expectations. Nido. Shinji's Nidoking roared, and an invisible wave hit Xiaomao's Nidoking. Then Shinji's Nidoking swung his two claws and threw a piece of poison spikes on the field. Xiaomao's Nidoking, who had just concentrated his mind, turned into a red light and returned to the Pokeball, and then another Pokeball opened automatically. Kami. Xiaomao's third Pokémon was forcibly determined, and Xiaomao's main Blastoise appeared on the field. The Blastoise stepped directly on the poison spikes, and the Blastoise entered the poison state directly. This fighting method, boss. Seeing Shinji's choice, Xiaoming looked at Wutong. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me? This is such a good tactic, Wutong said indifferently. Shinji frowned when he saw that Blastoise actually roared out. This luck is really not good. Nidoking also learned to roar. How much do you, a gloomy monster, like this skill? Xiaomao couldn't help complaining. Humph, it's good to use. Nidoking, 100,000 volts. Shinji started to attack directly. Nidoking lowered his head, and the horns on his head flashed with lightning, and then a burst of lightning shot at Blastoise. This 100,000 volts is a skill learning machine that Shinji saved money for a long time, and saved money to buy. Please, break the shell. Xiaomao shouted. Kami. Blastoise's body shattered, and Blastoise jumped out directly to avoid Nidoking's 100,000 volts. The broken shell left on the ground was split into pieces by 100,000 volts. Blastoise still has a shell after breaking its shell, Wutong said to himself while looking at the Blastoise on the field. Blastoise, water cannon. Xiaomao continued to command. Kami. The cannon on Blastoise's back moved and shot out two thick water columns. Nidoking, aim at Blastoise's feet. Power of the earth. Shinji commanded calmly. Nidoking used the power of the earth at Blastoise's feet. The ground under Blastoise's feet began to shake, and then a stone pillar rose from the ground and directly knocked Blastoise over. The water cannon originally aimed at Nidoking instantly changed its direction and began to spray towards the sky. Nidoking, now, 100,000 volts. Shinji commanded. Blastoise, shrink the shell, high-speed rotation. Xiaomao shouted hurriedly. The horns on Nidoking's head flashed again, and a bolt of lightning struck Blastoise. Kami. Blastoises all retracted into their shells, and then spun wildly in place. Then Blastoise directly spun into the air, and crashed into Nidoking in a way that violated the laws of physics. 100,000 volts hit the high-speed rotating Blastoise at this time, but Blastoise did not stop, and crashed into Nidoking with 100,000 volts. Both sides have used their full strength to attack. Who can hold on to the end? The host deliberately said to arouse suspense. On the field, the two Pokémon who resisted each other's attacks stood there with scars. Kami. After a while, Blastoise couldn't hold on first. First, it entered the poison state when it came on the field, and then it was hit by Nidoking's 100,000 volts directly. Blastoise still lost its combat ability. Nidoking shook twice, then shouted and forced himself to stabilize his body. Although he has not lost his ability to fight, Nidoking is not feeling well now. After all, the Blastoise has a high attack power after breaking out of its shell, and it is still very painful to be hit by a high-speed rotation. Nidoking has held on. It seems that Shinji has won the first game, the host passionately explained. Thank you for your hard work, Blastoise. Xiaomao rarely said anything and took back Blasto Eyes. Come back, Nidoking. Shinji also chose to take back Nidoking. After all, Nidoking's condition was not very good. Go. Argyle. X2 Shinji and Xiaomao made the same choice again. The second round of the two began. Argyle. Bite it. Shinji was ready to continue to bully Xiaomao's Argyle with his stronger body. Argyle. Roar. Xiaomao gave a sly smile and commanded. Woof. Xiaomao's Argyle roared at the Argyle that was rushing over with fangs bared. Shinji's Argyle had just rushed halfway when it was forced to retreat and turned into a red light and flew back to Shinji's Pokeball. They really like barking dogs, Wutong said in the audience, watching the situation on the battlefield. Does Xiaotong always talk like this? Xiaogang asked Xiaoming when he heard what Wutong said. Yes, this guy is sometimes more venomous than Shinji, Xiaoming said helplessly, covering his forehead. How did he appear safely at the Quartz conference? Xiaoxia asked a soul-searching question. In fact, Shinji, Xiaomao and I tried to deal with him together once, but the result was Xiaoming stopped halfway through. Although Xiaoming only said half of the words, Xiaoxia and Xiaogang understood the meaning. So you three lack exercise, and the physical fitness of the trainer is also very important, Wutong said with a sincere look. Asshole, it's obviously you who have too much physical fitness, Xiaoming replied angrily. Is that so? Wutong replied, but think about it, it would be strange if he didn't have good physical fitness after being trained by Masashi, Ziba, and Mutwo. Let's return our attention to the battlefield. Shinji's Windy Dog was forced to retreat because of roaring, and Shinji's other Pokémon was forced to be exchanged. Damn, with a steady call, Tortoise appeared on the field. Shinji's luck is really bad, Xiaoming said in the audience. Indeed, the other three Pokémon can deal with the current situation well, but Tortoise was called out. Wutong nodded in agreement. Don't you, a playboy, like to roar too? Shinji frowned when he saw his Tortoise being called out. Humph, isn't it good enough to be useful? Windy Dog. Flame Wheel. Xiaomao responded with Shinji's words and directly commanded Windy Dog to start the attack. Awoo. The wind speed dog barked, and its whole body was covered with flames, and rushed towards the turtle. Turtle. Earthquake. The turtle could not be the opponent of the wind speed dog in terms of speed, so Shinji simply chose a large-scale skill. Damn. The turtle barked and stomped on the ground hard. The ground began to shake instantly. The wind speed dog. Jump up. Xiaomao shouted. The wind speed dog jumped high and hit the turtle head on like a cannonball. The slow-moving turtle was hit hard. Shinji looked at the wind speed dog, who flexibly retreated in front of Xiaomao and began to think about how to break the situation. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.